You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
All right, Tux, what's going on, man?
All right, good morning. Good morning.
How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm doing all right. Been a busy week, but it's moving stuff forward.
What do you got going on, man?
I
Monero
got a
related.
lot of different stuff going on.
Yeah?
Some stuff I can talk about, some stuff I can't. A lot of tech stuff, a lot of privacy stuff, which is cool.
Oh, cool. What can you talk about? Shill your stuff that you can chill.
So I run a bunch of privacy services, like on my website, like front ends, like Knitter and libreddit stuff. I'm doing a physical server migration because I'm upgrading the server. So that's been a challenge. Like whenever you say something's going to take, it's going to take like a day or whatever, in the IT world, it's like really it's going to take like 4 days. So that's been great. Had a bunch of stuff go wrong with that, but
But you're figuring it all out, obviously.
Yeah, for the most part.
And you love it, obviously.
Oh yeah,
yes,
that's why I do it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I went for a run today, which is nice. I mean, it wasn't much of a run, but ran up a hill. So I'm finally getting back in action with that, with my ankle. So cheers to me on that. Felt good.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. Good way to start the day. All right. I guess let's get right into it. What are we going to start with the price report?
I think so.
Let's do it.
Let's get that rolling.
Yeah.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer.
Sorry, I think I cut you off, right?
Yeah, no worries. No worries. One thing I did want to bring up in terms of housekeeping, we have a ton of content we've been putting out. So anybody that's listening, recommend you go check it out. We've been putting up like over 2 videos a week. All the stuff from the Monerotopia conference. We keep releasing those videos about 2 a week. And then we had MoneroCon videos. I think we had like 6 of those in total. So we've been releasing like 2 to 4 videos a week. So check it out. There's a ton of content up on the Monero Talk YouTube channel. It's like all really good stuff. It's kind of a shame that's all coming out at once, but we want to get it out there. So just putting the word out. Check it out.
Fire hose, man. Fire hose.
What's that?
A fire hose.
Fire hose. Yeah. When it rains, it pours. What's going on, Bawdy?
Oh, not much. We had some nice, fantastic storms last night, lightning and everything. It was great.
Oh, sweet. Good for sleeping. Cool things.
Good for staying up and watching the storm, I guess.
Okay, nice. How's price? I haven't really paid attention at all this week. Was this like another crazy week, or was it doldrums?
There was like nothing to pay attention to.
Okay.
I guess we kind of took a little dip here in the past few days, but I mean, basically, Monero has been flat, and most of the crypto market looks like that. We've seen shitcoins pop off a few at a time, kind of like we talked about, but yeah, there's just nothing really exciting going on with its price.
I mean, it's a stable coin, right?
Exactly.
That's what I thought.
I mean, that's what we need for adoption, right? Flat, stable, merchant adoption. Can't be worried about crashes.
Yeah,
actually,
good.
It was it's got to be 2 or 3 years ago almost. Someone posted an article on Reddit that was talking about I think they said rehypothecation, or they used some fancy term for like basically doing fractional reserve. And like, well, fractional reserve is good because it stabilizes the price, and that's what you need for a currency. And I'm helping. Well, he didn't say I, but I just assume he was part of the cabal. Assumed he was a bot account from CZ or something. But yeah, I mean, everything's just kind of flat. The dollar did pick it up a little bit. So if y'all remember, we kind of broke down this line, and I was like, wow, the violence of this move kind of has me concerned that there's probably more gains on the way. Somewhere mid move, I called up my dad. I was like, hey, stock market's probably still going to keep going up. So, because, for a little bit, I was saying I'm not exactly top calling, but I'm concerned at this moment. But when this move just started violently crashing, I was like, nah, we got some more gains, at least for now. There was something I did want to talk about. Something I've forgotten about actually for a little bit is the Gox coins. One thing I'd said last year was like the new lows will still be on the table until the Gox coins have been released. So maybe new lows aren't necessarily on the table. I mean, they kind of are, but there's still like this opportunity to revisit down near the 20K area. And I think the Gox coins could be a big factor in that. If you're a Bcasher out there, just be a little bit careful here because, CZ was like, they released some press thing. They were like, oh, we're having trouble keeping up with the demand. We don't have enough Bcash in our coffers. My God, you better buy now, right? That's kind of what it felt like. It felt like marketing. And they've never really said that with Monero. The closest they came was like, oh, our hot wallet is empty. Give us 1 month to 1 year to replenish our hot wallet.
Is that what they
anyways,
said? 1 month to 1 year when that happened?
No, I added that. I embellished a little bit.
I was like, what?
But yeah, they were like, give us some time to replenish our hot wallet. I'm like, okay, guys. Let's see. So we got Bcash here. So Bcash is relevant because the Gox coin happened before the fork, and then the Gox trustee, the coin that they found, that ended up being Bitcoin and Bcash, right? Or sorry, right. Bitcoin Cash. And so the only thing I would say is like, if you're holding Bcash here, like I'm not saying it can't pump more. Like we could definitely make it up to this sort of cluster of standard deviations, that colorful blue area. But with the Gox coins being released and supposedly actually this time for real, no take backsies should be like September 31st. I mean, I guess they could probably still take backsies if they want, but it's really looking close. It's imminent finally. And I know we've kind of said this for like a year or more, but it really is like getting close. So
what is the amount of coins that's getting released?
I don't know the number that's getting released at this moment. So there's two payments. There's the early lump sum, and then there's still like other lawsuits with other people that have to get resolved. And so like the early lump sum payment is it actually could end up being more. It's kind of weird the way the numbers could work out, but depending on the result of the future lawsuits, you could have more or less coin. Anyways, but there's 141,000 Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and I guess BSV, but nobody cares about BSV. So, but there's like, that's a large amount of coin that's about to be released onto the market. And one thing that a friend told me is that not everybody has to buy, but everybody eventually is going to have to sell, right? You're going to want to sell your investment to pay for rent or whatever. Like eventually you have to sell. Life gets in the way. And we're talking about people that have been living their lives for the past 8 years. So, I mean, a lot of coins could potentially get sold, and which coins are going to get sold first? Let's be real. The Bcash coins, when you get your distribution, whatever, the Bcash coins could potentially be sold first. I would just be worried. I wouldn't be like a huge mega bull on Bcash right here. Just use some caution. And that's also kind of another reason to expect that a top is could be coming for Bitcoin, and somewhere in the next month or two. So yeah, but the other cool thing about that to me is that I do think some of that could drive some market cap into Monero. And as we talked about before, there's kind of this head and shoulders pattern happening on the Monero dominance right here. And the target from that, right? So basically you draw a line. Actually, I guess I already have a line drawn, but we just delete that. So you draw a line at the shoulders, and then you draw another line from where the peak happened to that line. And then you copy that, and that's basically your target. So the target of this head and shoulders is somewhere about 1% of the total market cap, which would be something like a 4x from here. like assuming everything else being equal, right? So
And
like
then
there's this
timing with that would be around when? Like, does that like
September 31st supposedly is going to be the
that's when
release
you
date.
start to see the
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the timing on when the Head and Shoulders resolves.
Yeah.
I guess like hypothetically, if it was like a perfect pattern, you would kind of see that and maybe that and then that. So somewhere Q3 probably. I mean, hypothetically, Monero would start going up now, like imminently. Could be, it still could be another month or so. But yeah, I mean, we should see this thing really move to the upside beginning Q3, maybe take some time to pause, and then by early 2024 next year to really pop off. So that's kind of what you would hope to see. And I do think fundamentally the Gox coins could drive this. And we've kind of talked about this for a long time. It's something I've talked about for a long time. I haven't mentioned it recently. But yeah, I mean, I've thought for a long. Oh, when we talked about the fractal, right? We always like, hey, the fractal is about to happen, and then it kind of didn't happen, and we all were disappointed. But I did think that the Gox coin could be something that drives some kind of chart pattern, whether that's a fractal or apparently right here, this big head and shoulders. Yeah, I mean that's a fundamentally large event. You would say, oh, well, how much you're really going to convert to Monero? I say, well, I don't know. Let's look at the Bitcoin to Monero market cap ratio. We're looking at about 0.5%. So maybe 0.5% of that coin moves from Bitcoin into Monero. Probably it'll be a bit more. But I mean, that doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking about 140,000 Bitcoin, maybe it's 70,000 that actually gets released right here because they still got to keep some in the tank. I don't think I haven't been able to find those numbers. Maybe someone else has seen them. They can send them my way. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be at least a few tens of thousands of Bitcoin, and even 0.5% of that moving into Monero is a somewhat significant amount. So I even do wonder, is it possible that some of the solid price action that we've seen with Monero could be related to that? Not necessarily the case, right? But it's possible that some of this is happening with people sort of anticipating this move in advance, whales or something like that. This kind of looks like a bottoming pattern to me. So this is Monero versus Bitcoin. This kind of looks like, there's some sort of bottoming range being established. There's this wick here. You could plausibly say this is a bottoming pattern. It doesn't necessarily have to be, right? Just to be a bit schizophrenic, we can go to the dollar and we can see a lot of times where I've kind of said, well, it looks kind of like things are bottoming, like right here. I was like, well, that might be bottoming. And then these two candles happened. And after the end of that candle, or maybe this one, I was like, nah, that bottoming pattern is now invalid. It's probably going to go down further, right? Right here, I'm like kind of thinking bottoming pattern, right? Things were looking nice and then just crashed. So I kind of have to adjust my thesis in real time. But it's possible that this Bitcoin Monero chart here is entering some kind of bottoming pattern. I guess we could take a look at the Monero versus dollar. There's really not much to look at. I'll show you guys my wave magic. At some point, I'll be doing more videos on this. Takes a moment to calculate because it's a lot of lines, but let me get rid of the stuff that's a little bit, we don't need that extra stuff. Okay, so yeah, again, these are standard deviations. These are moving averages. So the white lines are moving averages. Standard deviations are in blue, and then the bottom here is lower standard deviation. So I use this to kind of just give me a statistical map of what's happening, and really, it's not necessarily like, again, statistics don't necessarily tell you fundamentals. You have to be careful about that. We talk about the regression analysis of Bitcoin. You have to understand what that means. You can't just be like, oh, it's perfect, right? But it does kind of help you view what I think are psychological levels, because the human brain, and really basically all brains, mammals in general, work on kind of like the statistical level. And like, for example, if you put a little side trail here, if you put a big jar in front of 1,000 people full of M&Ms and you say, guess how many M&Ms are in the jar? Any one of them is going to be pretty far off, but the aggregate of all of them, if you take the average, they're going to be like insanely close. Like you wouldn't believe how close everybody gets when you average the answer. And so when I look at these lines and I look at these like moving averages, standard deviations, I say these are broad psychological levels. People in aggregate have a sense for when the market is trending, when it's, close to its, close to being out of trend, which would be the upper blue lines or the lower orange lines. So anyways, basically Monero pumped from the bottom of the market here last year, or sorry, not last year. Let's go to a longer time frame. But basically, we're kind of like hanging out in some near-term upper standard deviation levels. If we're going to continue pumping, I would expect, again, that the 180 to maybe 190 area would be a potential topping area. The next spot would kind of be this broad cluster of bands. The Monero chart, honestly, when it comes to wave magic, is a little bit messy. But again, it's not perfect. It's just kind of an area to think about where to expect some resistance. Like, for example, we talked about XRP last week. We said, hey, things kind of came into this standard deviation bands here, and it's going to need some time to consolidate, right? Don't expect new mad gains immediately. And that's, for the last week, that's kind of what's happened. It's just it pumped and it's consolidating inside these very large upper standard deviation bands. And again, the reason I do this is because, like, people talk about Bollinger Bands. Like, well, look at the 100-period Bollinger Band, or look at the 50-day moving average, or the 21-day moving. Like, it's arbitrary. It's totally arbitrary which one you choose. You might try and find a chart and say, okay, well, which one trends, right? You could do that. But I just prefer to layer them all together and then see where the clusters of bands exist, because that's the most likely place that people are going to be looking, when it comes to, say, moving averages, which is the white bands here. So anyways, there's not a whole lot that's happened this week. The dollar index kind of made a bit of a comeback. Gold has been trying to do good, but what are you going to do with 4%? Barely you're going to keep up with inflation like that. Next week, we've got the Fed meeting. So honestly, this is kind of an important signal to me, because we've seen a lot of positive action from the stock market. And the reality is that things are actually very close. They're within spitting distance of the all-time high, 5%, right? Another 5% on the S&P will put it back at its all-time high from, peak inflation or whatever at the end of 2021. So to me, the Federal Reserve meeting next week is going to signal, do they want to create more inflation, right? Are they interested in keeping number go up, or do they want to actually get the economy under control? If they don't raise rates here next meeting, to me, that's game on. And I don't, there was a few times in the past where we talked about the Federal Reserve, the FOMC meeting, and look at that for understanding what the market might do here soon in the future. And we've kind of dropped off there. We haven't really talked about it much the last few months, just a little bit, because to me, it hasn't been that significant. They basically did what they said they were going to do, and they sort of topped off. But right here, to me, this is more significant than the past few months, because the market is really getting heated. So if the Federal Reserve doesn't raise rates at least a quarter point, to me, that signals that they want the markets to go higher. They don't care too much about the value of the dollar, and to probably get long the market, basically. There's kind of like this little reverse action here with the dollar. Even though I've got this line kind of drawn, you can see it's sort of a very long-term line, but this could just be kind of a revisit of this what was support. This could be a revisit and turn that into resistance and potentially go down, right? That's kind of what happened here in 2021. Who knows? We want to talk about cycles and, copy paste what happened from 2019. You had this secondary blow off top, right, in Bitcoin, and then it went down, and, into 2020 crash, right? That doesn't have to happen. Like, the markets don't have to copy, paste, repeat. So just, like I said, watch the Federal Reserve meeting. If they raise rates, that's really personally what I want to see. I don't want to see these markets get out of control. I don't like inflation. I'd rather see, kind of some sideways chop here, to be honest. I don't want things to just go crazy high, at least not yet. So that'll probably be a big factor in whether or not I sell the pump, because I don't think that this is the top yet. Like, I've been saying, hey, be careful. It feels like we're getting close, but I've hesitated to call a top, thus far. But if the Federal Reserve raises rates, there's a good chance I'll be inclined to sell the pump on my shitcoins. I have a few of them that I may have been holding for a while or might have picked up. But if they don't raise rates, I'm probably going to let those run just a little bit. So I think that's about all for today, unless you guys wanted to take a look at something in particular.
No, I'm good. Tux, you got anything you want to look at?
No. I mean, mostly Monero, all about Monero, and everything else nothing else matters. Only Monero matters.
Bawdy, what are the top coins you're looking? Obviously, you keep a close eye on Monero, Bitcoin. What are some of the other top things that you personally kind of keep a look on, if you don't mind divulging?
Well, I don't want to be accused of shilling, but I think Link is a very interesting coin in the sense that it's kind of proven itself over the years to be fundamentally necessary for DeFi. There's a lot of criticism, and probably justified. Honestly, I don't really know, but I've been holding Link for a while, and we actually had some pretty good pump on Link recently. Let's go to the Link chart. There's XRP, Chainlink. Here we go. Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's kind of used everywhere. They got the oracles. One thing interesting that happened with Link at the bottom of the bear market is that they prevented a liquidation of some kind by not reporting for 10 minutes. It was something FTX related. I think it was Link. I'm pretty sure it was Link. Or like maybe not Link, but like the oracles that they run or something like that. They didn't report for like 10 or 15 minutes when a liquidation moment should have happened for some like big player. So there's that. I mean, but I'm not, please understand, I'm not commenting that, hey, this is an amazing coin, it's going to be the digital freedom money. I'm not, it's just like something that I use sometimes and something that I'm interested in holding, right? I'm interested in holding this one for probably a long period of time because it's so used amongst DeFi. And I do think that regulatory clarity will drive the next bull market, and DeFi will be a big deal. So right now we've seen Link has kind of made a almost 60% pump. It's been, again, kind of forming this potential bottoming pattern. What's funny is that it actually set its lows, like from the top, from like the bull market top, it set its lows down here recently. It kind of crashed when the whole SEC attack uncertainty was happening. But there's solid potential here, right? For Link as a long-term hold. You could easily make it to these blue bands at another, I guess that'd be 1.5x that you could potentially make there. And I do think there's a good chance that it could go higher. I'm kind of holding another really kind of outside play, and it's not something that you would. Let's see if I can pull it up here. It's not something that you would. ADA is another one that I'm holding as well. Just again, I can't stand the guy that runs this coin, but it seems like there's some potential for punch. Yeah, exactly. Well, just a little bit, right? I have another one called Tau, Bit Tensor. So they're basically trying to solve AI training models, and yeah, like so what they do is they kind of sample. They've got validators and they've got calculators. They don't call them calculators, but my meager brain thinks of it that way. So it's basically like they're trying to calculate, or they're offering resources to do AI training models. And then you've got people that sort of verify the miners that are like doing these calculations. And they say, okay, well, who's the best miner? They give them weights or whatnot. I don't know. I mean, who knows if it can work or not? We're seeing a lot of stuff that seems to be working, at least for now. It's reasonable to expect that the next big bull market, if and when it happens, is going to involve AI. Right, everyone's going to be like, "Oh my God, we've got the AI blockchain, and we've got the AI stock, and this and that." And like, you're going to hear AI just like you heard blockchain in 2017 pumped the stock. Whatever stock mentioned it, like they would pump 2x overnight because they mentioned blockchain. Probably AI is going to be the same thing this next run. So, I kind of have this coin here. It's an outside player. I think I picked it up somewhere around like 40. Not here. This is not the full chart. It was actually like. Their full chart exists down here. So I picked it up somewhere down here because a friend of mine was like, yo, there's this AI thing. Do you want it? And I was like, I don't know. He says, well, we're going to run a whole node and we need some cash to make this thing, to be in the validator list. I was like, all right, I'll participate. Here's some cash.
Okay, cool.
So it's one of these things I'll hold.
You've been watching it closely? Like they have like a decent team and stuff?
Oh no, I haven't watched it all.
You're just like,
you guys now have the extent of my knowledge.
Sounds Chinese almost.
Tau,
yeah,
right?
Tau, bit tensor. Again, guys, I'm not recommending. I mean, Tao is like the way of the Tao, the way of the Tao, right? So you do the sign of the cross in Buddhism or something. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not recommending any of this, right? I'm not saying get into ADA. I'm not saying get into Link. Actually, I kind of might be saying get into Link as a speculative play. But even like slightly more fundamentally, I think Link, because listen, I don't understand these smart contracts. I have to sort of like, the best that I can do is to look at the smart guys, but then the smart guys are always arguing. So how do I know? But one thing that I do look at is, okay, what has existed for a while and what seems to have proven itself. Like when Uniswap came out, I was like, okay, we can kind of trade on ETH. I don't know, whatever. And then it existed for a few years and kept going. I was like, wow, I guess I can get into stable coins. I can use this to, do this and that, right out the bear market. And it, over time, it kind of proves itself. And I know that there's fallacies involved. So please, don't hang me, don't string me up for fallacies here. But
Bawdy certified financial advice.
yeah. This is like a very long way of saying, not financial advice, bro. But anyway, so it's just some of the other stuff I'm looking at. I'm probably not going to sell BitTensor, like unless it pumps to somewhere in the $400, $500 range, like, way up here. I'm probably not going to sell this because I really do think AI will be a big catchphrase, growth stock, buzz, whatever, when the next bull market kicks off. So I put a little bit in here, a very small amount, and it could, it could multiply 10x, could multiply more than that. Maybe it crashes to zero and I wipe my tears and I move on. But
so we need a Monero-chan AI to pump Monero.
Yeah.
That sounds good, man.
Oh, something crazy that did happen last night. So I used to do like, NASDAQ trading, like when I was an idiot. I did like retarded contracts that made a lot of money, and then I got greedy and they expired with like nothing. But I still own like some AMC back from those days. And last night it just like went up 70% after hours, like out of nowhere.
Nice.
I think it's related to like a couple movies that were coming out, but
It pumped 70% AMC.
just 70, yeah, and that's it's an AMC
You started
stock.
messing around with it back when it was like when it first was being used as a meme coin type of thing.
Yeah, no, I was in all the GameStop stuff. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I participated in some of that degeneracy as well.
And let's just say it didn't make me a lot of money. But that's okay, because screw the short sellers.
Okay.
We wanted the MOAS, right? That was the idea.
That's right.
So on Reddit, and this was like last year or when the whole thing was happening, they'd be like, "You Monero people, you just seem like the game stonk." And I'd be like, No. Listen, man. Like, yes, they're fractionally reserving. They don't have all the.
No, they're no reserving. At least the banks are.
Yeah. Well, really, are they? I mean, I believe that. Like, but the thing is, I think they can continue that. Well, both on Monero and with GameStonk. And for a while, I thought, okay, they can't continue that. Eventually, the shorts have to close. But apparently, they can just keep rolling them. And they did that until the price came down. But yeah, like I don't necessarily think that the MOAS has to happen when Binance goes bankrupt with the Monero fractional reserve, and we're gonna arrive at the promised land, right? Like, that's not. I think they can probably continue to do this, and the only person that can really stop Binance is the government. Right, like the government is the only one, and I don't really want the government to get involved. Like they make things worse. Like it's bad, yes, I know it's bad, but they just make things worse. So, but what could cause the MOAS for Monero is the goxening. Could release those gox coin.
Yeah, let's see what happens. All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Great.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Talk to you soon.
All right, later, man.
All right.
Tux, what do we got next?
Got dev segment with Dgoon. Let's roll that up.
I did.
And now for the Monero development segment.
Dude, I'm so... Again, I heard you talk right as I pressed the...
okay.
What's up, Dgoon?
Moving too fast.
Hey, how's it going?
What do you want to say, Doug?
No, I was gonna say that was surprise news to me that you were in on the game
Oh
stuff.
Yeah, dude, I was all into. As soon as I could turn 18, I was like, I'm getting into stonks. And I made some money. I lost some. Some good decisions, some bad.
I was in high school when we had the first, the craze in the late 90s of like the Amazons and Yahoo.
Oh yeah, the .com bubble.
The .com bubble was just like, that was wild for us. And I remember, me and my friends, we got our parents to allow us to make Ameritrade accounts. Some of us did pretty well, some of us did very well, and then ended up with nothing at the end. I learned a lot of lessons during that time. It was very similar to probably what you went through. You know, I used my summer savings, went all in on companies that didn't exist 3 months later.
Of course. It always happens.
But the highs were great. The highs were amazing. But yeah, a lot of lessons learned there. It's kind of funny. Kind of every generation ends up going through it. How about you, Dgoon? Did you get wrapped into the meme?
Oh yeah, I didn't have a. I don't know if this is legal, but I didn't have an account, so I Venmoed a friend to buy some for me. I trusted this friend, so custodial all day. And I made some money. You know, didn't make a lot. I was a little bit late. Obviously, Venmoing someone, you're not going to be the most responsive to market conditions, but I made some
so
money.
smart. He's making money by proxy. He doesn't even open a brokerage account, and he's making money anyway. Probably more than we did.
I've never had one because my first trade was on my first account. KYC account was like on Coinbase back in like 2015. I just was in crypto since then. I've never done anything in the non like crypto space honestly until that.
Yeah.
Is that legal? I don't know, but maybe if it's not legal, I didn't do it. I don't know if we can Venmo people.
Story. It's just a story.
Yeah, just a story for entertainment purposes only. But you better get Bawdy back on here and tell about the legality of Venmoing people. But yeah, how was it run, Doug?
Oh, it was good, man. It was good. Yeah, it was great.
Running's tough.
This is my new, before every Monerotopia now on Saturday mornings, I'll go for a little. Because, my ankle had me out for a while. Now I'm finally running again.
Yeah,
I'm just running up a little hill.
So now you had to get surgery on it a while back, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, like 6 months ago. But yeah, it feels good. Feels good. How about you?
Well, don't swim, no swim, just run.
Oh, what? Because of the sharks?
Yeah. don't swim, just go for a run.
I know there's been more sightings. It's crazy. Yeah, with my luck, I would be that guy. But yeah, take it away, Dgoon. What do we got? Intro to mining. I like it. Yeah, let's bring it back to basics.
Yeah, like this is a very basic intro to mining. I'm doing it because there was a recent release in some mining software I'm going to talk about that's really cool. Then I just wanted to give like a quick overview about mining Monero. And honestly, this is probably like, Monero's privacy is also very important. So probably my second favorite thing is how the dev team has actually structured the mining Monero, everything from random X with Howard Chu and company to a P2P pool also is really cool. So I'm really gonna like a brief overview of all that because it's really important to how decentralized Monero is. And once again, this is gonna be a really brief overview. Don't go out and buy a bunch of computers and mine after this. This is not financial advice. It's just literally just an overview of how mining Monero works. And maybe if you want to mine a little bit, how you can get into it pretty easily. And like I said, Monero is relatively easy to mine when compared to other coins like Bitcoin and not even Ethereum, because Ethereum proof of stake, but to other mineable coins, it's pretty easy. And by easy, I mean that it's accessible. Like you can go down to the store or online and buy just a computer and mine Monero on it. You probably won't make a lot of money, but you can do that. Versus other coins that don't have ASIC resistant mining algorithms. It's like Bitcoin, you need to have like a specific mining rig that's updated, et cetera, or you're going to be outdated quickly. And so I see Monero is easy to mine. It's the hardware that you need isn't like specialized hardware. But mining's, it does work, but Monero is in my opinion, the best coin to mine because it's the most accessible. And that's because of RandomX. And that just pretty much means what I'm trying to help you visualize what I'm talking about. On the left, you can see like an average, when you Google Bitcoin mining, that's what shows up. It's a big factory. They have a bunch of up-to-date hardware in it. Like you can't compete with those guys. But on the right is where you see when people think about mining Monero, you're going to have pretty much just have like motherboards and CPUs. And the things on the right can be found at Best Buy. The things on the left, you have to get order from, I believe China makes most of ASICs these days. Maybe Taiwan designs them and China makes them. Bawdy would know more. Bawdy is like I don't know if I should tell us about Bawdy, but Bawdy knows a lot about tech actually. Just a fun fact if you meet Bawdy. But I'm not going to get any more details about that. But pretty much, yeah. Bitcoin mining isn't accessible. It's not decentralized. Oh, Monero Nodo also. But on the right, Monero is like accessible, relatively easy to mine with consumer hardware because of the great design. And oh, congratulations! Bought your first Monero today. Welcome to the team.
Yeah, you could jump up later, Soye, if you like. Tell us why you got into Monero. But go ahead, Dgoon. Continue.
Yeah. But pretty much decentralization and mining matters, because on the left here you can see that there was like this big winter storm, I believe like a year ago, and that Bitcoin's hash rate dropped because Texas actually has a large majority, maybe not a majority, but a large percentage of miners in the state actually. So the storm came through, knocked off the miners, and you can see they dropped. I think it dropped like 40% just from that one storm in Texas, which is obviously not good, because on the right you see how Texas miners were paid to shut down their electricity. Pretty much, if the state can reward you for turning off your miner, the state pretty much controls your miner. They can tell you, hey, we don't like mining, we do like mining, which is not good for a coin, right? Especially when 40% of your hash rate is controlled by one state in America at some point, which is kind of ridiculous, right? That's not remotely decentralized. And there's a quick overview. Random X. Sorry, it's a very high level because there's so much packed into this. But I link videos that Doug has done in the past if you want to learn more about what Random X is. And basically, Random X is more CPU focused. It can be mined, so you can mine Monero on GPUs, but it puts it on a more even playing field with GPUs and CPUs. Versus on the left, Bitcoin uses ASICs. I mean, you can mine on a CPU, but you're not going to get anything for it essentially. So once again, Monero is more decentralized. You can go down to Best Buy right after this video, buy some stuff off the shelf, and build a pretty competitive miner. With Bitcoin, that's not true. And you want to know more about Random X? Howard Chu is like, how do I even describe? How would you describe Howard? Yeah, how would you describe Howard Chu?
I don't know, genius.
Yeah, genius behind Monero's ASIC resistant algorithm. Is actually one of the only ones that is still working today.
Tevador too, right?
Tevador, of course, Tevador. And was it Need Money? Also Need Money 49, I believe. Wasn't someone Need
Money 90? Yeah, he didn't really participate, I don't think, in developing anything. Yeah, it was really Tevador and HYC. HYC, kind of came up with the concepts, and Tevador was instrumental in implementing it, bringing it to fruition.
Yeah, and these guys are geniuses. Tevador has done great work with saving Tor using the stuff they developed with Random X. It's like, I mean, I'm not going to talk anymore about it. You can just watch video. Doug has plenty of videos about this, a Monero talk on it also, and a Monerotopia feature. And a cool fact is that Random X is one of the only surviving ASIC resistant algorithms. I believe that there was another one that was meant to be ASIC resistant and use GPUs. I think Zcash actually helped fund it, and that one broke. So Monero's actually one of the only ASIC resistant algorithms, Random X, being used today, I believe. There might be other ones that are smaller, but I believe Random X is definitely the biggest one and most thriving one. So really cool stuff. And speaking of Howard Chu being a genius, how easy it is to mine Monero. Howard Chu somehow got Monero running on his car radio. So he actually, he has like this Twitter thread about how he did it. And he pretty much, I think, installed like anything that runs Android. I believe you can mine Monero on it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. So
I didn't even see that. That's cool.
Yeah, so he actually installed Monero core or Monero software on his car radio, and his car radio was mining Monero. Like you can see here. Like
I think most of those car stereos run like a lightweight version of Linux.
Yeah. So if it runs Linux, it can probably mine Monero. And this is just really cool. It shows you how decentralized Monero is. And you can picture a world where everything is mining Monero. But I'll get to that later, that dream world. But that's just really cool. But you might say, Donnelly, I'm not Howard Chu. I'm not a genius. I want to mine Monero also. We have you covered. Because Goopax, I believe Goopax, am I pronouncing it right, was actually updated, I believe, this week. So that's what made me do this whole mining Monero. And it's basically, Goopax is a GUI for mining Monero. So if you have a device that runs Linux, I believe it also has Windows support also. Windows, so if you have a computer that runs that, you can simply download this GUI and mine Monero. And this GUI pretty much puts all the big software pools together. It puts PTP pool together. It puts XMR rig together. And they have a really cool guide. I mean, you can be mining Monero within like, a minute or two, excluding download time. Like, it's like super easy. It's like 3 clicks and you're ready to go. Right. Once again, you're not gonna make a lot of money. So don't be like, oh, don't retire from your day job just yet. But this is a way that you can support the network. And maybe if you have like an old computer lying around. I remember in college we had free power. So I actually bought a miner and actually mined in my bathroom, which is, I would not be advised of that, because you don't want it in your room, right? Because it's loud. You don't want it in your room. And the only place that had a plug that was the bathroom. It was a terrible idea.
Kept the bathroom.
The sauna.
Yeah. But so no, I don't know if that's legal again. So it's entertainment purposes only. But basically, if you have free power, you can probably in a computer lying around, you can mine Monero, make some money. But if you just have a computer sitting around you're not really using, you can mine Monero and support the network, even if you don't make money off of it. Once again, this software is really cool and really great to design. And it was actually funded by the CCS. So Monero users actually paid for this software to be made. It's great, easy design. Like, if you want to mine Monero, there's no reason you can't try it out on your computer right now. Just see how it works, learn about how the ecosystem works. And it's really cool software.
And it was made with Rust.
Tux,
it was written in Rust?
Yes, which is really cool.
Oh, that's wow.
Cool. Tux, we should try to get somebody on from Goopax. Or I don't know if there's anybody who's not anonymous who participated.
Because
who are the main devs behind it?
I didn't recognize the name, but I have a picture of the CCS
proposal
later on.
But the GitHub user is Hinto-Janai.
Yeah, I
pronounced that correctly. Don't know who it is really.
And they've essentially made it super easy to just get up and running and mining and using P2 pool, and it's just simple user interface.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Actually, one of my favorite design interfaces, honestly. I love this black, like, I think it comes out the box, dark mode enabled with just these colors you see here. And I actually really like it. And it's really, and what it does is puts PTP pool together and XMR rig together into a GUI form. And it just makes it much easier to run PTP pool, which is a decentralized way to mine, which you also have an interview with. I'll get into later. But yeah, it's really cool software. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it later also. But I want to cover PTP pool now. Are there any questions? I'm going pretty fast. I don't want to.
No. Good stuff. Good stuff. Keep interrupting. Go ahead.
But basically, I said it was a CCS funded project. And by their name here is Hinto, I think so, to echo what Tuxedo was saying, Tuxedo. And it's really cool software. It was funded by us, for us. I think he would want to be on for the show, actually, because I think he got funded for a year of support. And I think that year of support might be coming around due sometime. So a little publicity to get a little more funding, would always be good.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody that's working on any CCS, you're always welcome to reach out, and we'll get you up on the show to help, get the word out. As long as it's not some retard, or CCS that we fundamentally disagree with, but I doubt that would be the case.
What was that guy who asked to get funded to promote Monerotopia?
Yeah.
But then was like, I don't like Doug. I'm like, wait.
Yeah. Like that one, I don't know. It's hard for me to want to promote that guy. Yeah.
Reasonable. But maybe not. Maybe Doug is censoring. We don't know.
Really try not to. Sometimes you gotta pull the trigger.
It makes sense. But pretty much, and also you can run P2P pool. I've been saying this a lot, but P2P pool is a decentralized way to mine Monero. It's actually Alaska and said the person is actually Doug in some 190 IQ 5e chess move. So the theory is that it was actually you marketing against yourself to build publicity for Monerotopia.
I'm too lazy to put in that much effort.
No, you just don't have the time.
But PTP pool is basically a decentralized way to mine Monero, and it's important because the way most Bitcoin pools, they trust an operator to make their blocks, and these blocks are all censored in the United States. Right. Basically, OFAC is this big government entity, and they say you cannot touch these addresses. And if you mine on a pool using Bitcoin in America, they're not going to include these addresses essentially. And it's really cool fact is, I guess, depending on how you look at it, Ethereum is more decentralized than Bitcoin when it comes to blocks being censored, because Ethereum just has more blocks. So more Ethereum blocks are not censored than Bitcoin blocks when you look at the OFAC list, which is an interesting fact. I believe that's currently true, but it might go back and forth. But it's an interesting idea. Basically, you need to have a P2P pool because the pool operator will censor your transactions if you're in a regulated jurisdiction like the United States. And this is important for Bitcoin because we look back and we saw that around 40% of Bitcoin miners were actually placed like specifically in the South of America. So south of North America, like Texas, and that area, which is really bad, right? Because if the government already has control or access to 40% of Bitcoin's miners and they're already censoring the transactions, it's just not a good look. And this affects all non-privacy coins. Monero isn't really affected by this because of privacy features, but P2P pool is really cool. And I'm not going to pronounce his name right. I'm not going to butcher it. This guy is really smart. I just listened to his podcast last week. It's actually amazing. And I believe Doug also had him on for the anniversary of this. Am I correct?
I believe we did, yeah.
Yeah, so really cool stuff. Decentralized mining is like awesome. But
have you looked at, I haven't checked recently, like what the numbers are looking like for P2 pool percentage wise in terms of amount of hashing power that it's getting?
I believe I glanced at it, was like maybe like 8, I believe, looking at the P2P pool website. We can pull it up right now. I don't know how to do any of that. Sorry.
Wants to try to take a look. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you could, but pretty much my, like, if you zoom out and you're like, walk away with one thing that I'm saying, I think there will be a future where everything mines Monero, because most hardware these days doesn't wear out from being used. It ages out, right? So you can imagine if you have an Xbox in your house that's not being used, that Xbox is not going to be, or whatever game console, is not going to be relevant in 5 years. So you might as well put that CPU to work mining Monero for you, right? Because it doesn't necessarily work. Like most servers age out, they don't wear out because if they're well-built devices. So anything that runs an operating system like Linux or Android can mine Monero. So you can imagine a world where your fridge has a computer in it and it's mining Monero. Your car has a computer in it and it's mining Monero. Your Xbox has a computer in it and it's mining Monero, because it's decentralized and also can make you a little money and easy to get into. And RandomX makes it amazing. So if you walk away with like one big idea, mining Monero, super accessible, super easy, and you can do it also yourself. And that's pretty much the feature that I see. I think Howard Chu also, mentioned it in an interview also, that would be really cool. Everything could mine Monero, but we'll have to see how it goes. It'd be really cool to see that happen. But now it's time for the quiz, unless there's any other questions.
Yeah, go for it.
The quiz question today is, how much was Gupax XMR funded for? So the choices are 50 XMR, 75 XMR, 100 XMR, and 150 XMR. What are y'all thinking? I think I
saw 100 up there. Am I...
Yeah, you're paying attention, Doug. I gotta make these harder. Doug's always ruining the quizzes by giving that spoiler. I want to make the next one's gonna be hard, Doug. Next one's gonna be hard.
I'm a horrible listener, by the way. I'm like,
Well, for those out there, if you weren't paying attention, the answer is 100. So
Demi got 100. Demi's always on it. Demi's in the comments.
So basically, the Monero community came together and funded this software with 100 XMR to be written and maintained. So I think half of it, roughly half, was given for building it. I think the other half is given for like a year of support, pretty much. So they get paid to support it for a year. I think that's a steal to get a GUI that you can plug on most devices and just have a miner running and play around with it and see how it works. I think it's really cool personally. And I think that's it for me, unless there's any other questions. I want to give a quick overview of how it works.
No, I think that was great. And yeah, encouraging anybody that's listening right now, that's on the fence, just experiment. Go
mine on everything, your fridge, your toaster, your car.
Maybe not your fridge. That's more like,
and get it going on your car radio. No,
yeah, you can do anything.
Should experiment, right? I mean, it's easy. It's so much easier to get going than Bitcoin, right? In terms of practically get going, where you can effectively mine. Are you going to become a millionaire? No.
Probably not.
Are you is the electricity potentially going to make it cost a lot more than what you're getting? Yeah, there's that potential. But you can fairly compete with your CPU. You can get up and running in a few clicks now with this GUI, which is great. So
yeah,
just give it a go. And I think what's also cool and kind of understated too is how I mean, I don't know, it's just anecdotal, but I feel like Monero has attracted like the gamers and stuff, people that are in that world, right? I don't know. In talking to people, because they have access to decent compute power sometimes.
Oh, you're so right. Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe you guys have more insight into that.
No, I do see you're right. There was a interview that this tech guy did. He's like, "Oh, that's my computer. I might Monero on it," because I think you're actually right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard in talking to people like younger people that have found their way.
Especially since it uses CPUs instead of I mean, you can use a GPU on Monero. It's not very efficient.
Right.
Ryzen CPUs are so dirt cheap, and those are like the best ones to do compared to like an expensive graphics card. So it's even more accessible than like using your having to buy a graphics card to do it.
And
Doug, don't you have a miner?
I do. I mean,
okay,
it's a computer we're using right now. So we had just a custom built CPU that was built for our studio, but it was really meant to be a miner.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we just use it for everything.
Probably a Ryzen 9 or a Threadripper, maybe.
I don't even know what the stats
are.
I don't even know.
Hey, mine's
non-technical, which is why I had somebody did it.
That's what matters. By the way, if you go to p2pool.observer, that gives you a bunch of cool statistics on p2pool, and it looks like right now it's using around 4.5% of the total overall hash rate for Monero.
Oh, that's cool.
Which isn't like a huge amount, but it's pretty good considering it's still somewhat new.
Wait, what is the percentage?
It's around 4.5%.
Oh, okay.
Of the total hash rate.
And then over time, has it kind of gone? Has it been higher? There's our miner over there /
Oh, that's so
cool. I have that same case for one of my computers.
CPU. Yeah, we had Mike Custom Tech.
Yeah, I've seen him on Twitter.
Shout out to Mike Custom Tech. He built it for us.
That's awesome.
And sent it to us. And then it took us like so long to actually get it up and running. No issue with the hardware or anything or the software. It's just we were so busy with other things, like we never sat down to, get things up and running and get accustomed to them, which was kind of a shame. But now we're very familiar with it and use it all the time. All right, I think that was great. Thanks, Dgoon. Appreciate it.
Dgoon.
These are amazing. I love these. These are good. I think the people really appreciate them too. These overviews. What do we got next?
All right, I think we can go into the guest segment. This is ready. Looks like he's waiting.
Should we? Let's jump to guest, and then then we could do maybe. Did I mute myself? No. Can you hear me, Tux? Everything's good, right?
I hear you right now. Yep.
Oh, when did that get muted?
Is it the Twitter space or?
Oh, I accidentally got muted over here. It's okay. Yeah, the Twitter space. Let's go to our guests. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
Hey,
man. How's it going?
Busy.
Busy?
Busy right. As always.
That's good.
Got to show you something, though. This is a recent Monero purchase. Can't say how it got done, but it got done. So they're Civil War bullets.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is a cool little display case.
That's awesome.
Right? It was just something fun. I was trying to test something out, see if it worked. And
what a cool thing to buy with Monero.
Yeah.
Right.
So you bought that. I mean, give us a little insight. You bought it in person or you bought it?
No, I communicated online.
Oh.
But it's from like a
Monero.
museum. Yeah.
Oh. That's cool.
So
very cool.
So it took a little finesse, but that's okay.
And
That's why I
now
run a
the
podcast.
person was willing to accept Monero off the bat, or it took some
No,
convincing with that?
it took a little convincing.
Okay.
He hadn't heard of it, heard of Monero, has heard of other things, Bitcoin, Litecoin stuff, but yeah, that was kind of interesting.
Very cool, man.
So,
Hey,
it was quick.
why don't you give a quick intro for those listening and that don't know you?
Yes, anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Jacob. I host RiseToLiberty podcast. I'm basically just a revolutionary fighting against the actual disinformation. You know, that's pretty much what I spend all my time doing, which is why I was so interested in Monero. It's a peaceful way to kick off the revolution, and that's really important to me. Personally, my opinion is that we have a lot of really nasty people at the helm making decisions for us that will be permanent if we don't change now. Obviously, not everyone is going to have to do this. I mean, there's we don't need everybody on board to change the world. Things are happening right now, and honestly, I'm excited to be a part of it. But Monero is where I landed. Also do quite a bit of work with gold-backed currency. Not sure if anyone's seen those, but actually don't have any over here.
Yeah, we love those. We're pretty familiar. What are you doing with them? You're helping them out? Well,
I've got sort of a working relationship with Jeremy Corden. So, you know, just trying to get the Liberty community together and build basically what we've lost, because in my opinion, one of the biggest things that's counting against everybody is no community. And that's why so many people are dependent upon government assistance or whatever, and we don't have community.
Yeah. We talk about this parallel economy. Really, at the end of the day, what that is a community, right? It's a community of people working together. I mean, we have the tech to get there. Now we need to all onboard and start associating and cooperating with each other. I think you do an amazing job at that, man.
Thank you.
You really helped get us more involved in the general Liberty community. So yeah, thank you for that, man. That was great. You got us.
And anytime.
You got us going to Nevada when we went to the national convention, and things really. We met so many people from that, and then through that, and then we went to other conventions and or conferences from that. You're very well connected in that community for good reason, because I think you're just an open-minded dude. You listen to people, you talk to people, you connect to people. You do a great job of that.
One thing, I am the communications director for the state of Utah Libertarian Party, and
there you go.
I will be determined that Utah will be the first state to accept Monero officially as a donation form. I know that you had went and talked to party leadership in the national convention, and everyone's really receptive to it. But for some reason, there's still just Bitcoin maxis everywhere, which if that's your thing, fine. But I'm on this one coin. I'm on Monero because I care about the privacy.
For them, they were talking about it more like it was a technical issue. Like they didn't know how to accept it. And it was just like, I was like, it's not that, you know, all the tech is there. It's just as easy to accept at this point than as Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then I guess you got to decide what you want to do with it. You want to hold it or just liquidate it on the spot. I think with the Bitcoin, they're just liquidating it. They just accept and like kind of auto liquidate, right? And just hold it.
I don't know. I stay out of the national stuff. I've got enough going on here in the state that, you know, I can't worry about what other states are doing.
Yeah.
So.
But you know, and there's some issues with receiving, you know, donations, right? FEC rules like you can't like receive donations anonymously, but they're receiving it as an organization.
Anything over $50.
Yeah. No, when I ran for Congress, we experimented with that, and people didn't know what to say. I spoke to attorneys and people very familiar with the regulations, and they're like, well, I don't know. Traditionally, with cash, you're allowed to accept, $50 or less, right? And like the idea was anything like when you'd go to an event and pass around a hat, right? That's kind of like where, the precedent was set from. So as long as it's just kind of analogous to that of passing around a hat and people throwing $50 in. But for the party itself, for the organization itself, I think they can receive, because it's not their. I don't know the regulations well enough, but it's not that you're funding.
I don't think there are any.
You're not funding a federal campaign. It's just an organization that's getting funded, that's getting paid. I think there's a little more leeway there.
So I ran for office as well. I ran for state representative, and I was accepting Monero as a candidate. And I had talked to the lieutenant governor's office, and they had no idea what I was saying to them.
Yeah,
like
and they don't know
it was a very quick meeting. So, but I mean, we'll figure it out. I told them I'll figure that out, because I don't understand the doubling down on Bitcoin when Monero's just right there.
Yeah, I mean, the Libertarian Party shouldn't be maxi, right?
Exactly.
They should be open to allowing technologies and cryptos and metals, whatever it is. May the best money win. Let open free market. Let's support the competition of money and technology.
Yeah, that's like a foundational libertarian belief is, open market.
Right. So yeah, there is some hypocrisy there, but I feel like ever since getting more involved, that there's been an upswing for a minute. There's been growth in, my observation. Has that been your observation as well? I mean, are you seeing that, or it's kind of
as far as I know, the state of Utah is still the only state mentioning anything about it. I think it's only because I find it such a big issue. As soon as we lose our privacy, that's it. It's game over. Like, this is a pressing matter, and we've had a lot of really concerning things going on with China and the UN here in the state, buying up property and forking over money for certain industries that are doing really weird tech things. And there was a bill that was passed recently. It was House Bill 470 here that basically leaves it open to the state government to basically decide what they're going to do with everyone's private data. And based on their track record, they're going to fail miserably because they suck at everything they do.
What's going on with the Libertarian Party? And can you give us some insight? I haven't been following it super close, but obviously we have the presidential election starting to heat up. I don't think, right? There's no Libertarian candidate, right, yet?
No, there's actually a few. My Termot is one of them. Lars something. Like I said, I'm not paying attention nationally. Yeah, good guy.
But the party hasn't gotten behind one candidate yet, right?
No,
Okay.
but it's still kind of early. I mean, we're right there where something should be happening. Really, it's just a bunch of Twitter drama right now. So if you like grabbing a bucket of popcorn and watching, it's fun.
What's your take on RFK? What do you feel about RFK?
He's like a Trojan horse.
Trojan horse.
Yeah. It says way too many things that I like for me to trust him.
He's too good to be true.
Yeah.
Wow. So you think it's like controlled opposition type stuff?
Maybe. I'm not sure what motives there would be, but there could be plenty though. So first of all, it's a Kennedy back in the White House, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. It is interesting though, because we haven't seen an actual Democrat for so long that when one comes along, everyone's like, wow, that actually sounds pretty good. It's like, well, he's just like a normal guy from like 30 years back. So I do love the attention on the JFK thing. Anytime we can cyber bully feds or just bully them in general, I'm okay with that. So I absolutely love that. But, you know, there has been some really concerning really concerning stances he's taken before and hasn't explained how he got to a different stance. It's a little concerning to me when you won't address that. One of them being
go ahead.
One of them was his position on firearms.
Yeah, because he's kind of like, he likes gun control to an extent, doesn't he? Which is like, that like turned me off completely.
Yeah,
and
his
okay, I get it. He might have an issue with guns. It's understandable, but it's still like, how do you go from, you know, ban it all to, well, you know, we can talk about reasonable things. And granted, I don't think that that's that huge of a jump, but not explaining that like process that you went through mentally to get there is concerning to me.
Right, because I think libertarians, better than any other party or political association, is most concerned with principles and knowing that you know, coming from principles and knowing that the people that are running for office have some, like, what do they, you know, principles and logic and reasoning. And I do think just listening to RFK, he really does a good job at explaining things often. But yeah, I haven't been following him long enough to know his past and like what he, you know, where he currently stands versus where he was.
I mean, he's an environmental lawyer, so which is great. You know, save the environment, don't pollute.
Right.
But I'm not pro green energy. You know, it's
I'm not entirely sure how he's balancing, because he's also very much against corruption and big government, right? Seemingly,
but yeah, he would usher in big government.
right.
Yeah, it is interesting though how he says like a lot of stuff that no one else has ever talked about, like ever. And like, of course, he's not allowed on any mainstream networks because of what he wants to talk about. That is pretty interesting in and of itself, and I think it stirs up conversation.
I mean, they tried to censor him at a hearing.
Yeah.
That is,
it was wild, and I have to say, he really skilled it. It almost does seem like it was controlled, because like they just teed it up so well for him. It was like they gave him this moment where he was just like came out looking like a hero, right? Like looking like and you know, he skilled it, and he explained all the, you know, the principles and the ideals behind why free speech is so important. And it was so hypocritical that the Dems were actually trying to censor him at a hearing on the, you know, the
on censorship, wasn't it?
Censorship, effectively is what it was, what that was on. It was about, you know, how the U.S. government was, you know, during COVID. The U.S. government was effectively censoring hundreds of thousands of Americans on the internet by
some people with 15 Twitter followers,
social media companies, mainly Twitter, and requesting that they ban people and censor people. And it was direct communications between the White House and Twitter and Facebook, and putting in requests asking them to censor people.
Yeah, and now they're repealing that decision because the 6th District Court judge came in and said, no, you cannot get a hold of these tech companies to censor Americans. And they said, well, we're gonna appeal that because yes, we do have that right. So perfect time to buy into Monero.
Which, you know, that's the thing. So with Monero too, I do feel like Monero is, for me, it's a great way to truly reveal where somebody stands and what their principles are by getting their response or answer on Monero and what their opinion is. Like when I went to one of these libertarian things, are you familiar with I'm sure you are, Justin Amash?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you are. He wouldn't even talk to us. He wouldn't even.
Sounds about right.
He didn't want to talk to us. He didn't want to have the conversation about
a little too stuffy.
true digital cash. Like he didn't want to broach the subject. So for me, that's like major turnoff. Like I'm just looking for your opinion, man. Like why are you hiding it? Like tell us what you think about it.
Like this is something you should be jumping all over.
Right. Yeah. Number one, you should totally be behind it. But number two, the fact that you're avoiding having a conversation about it because you don't want, you think it's whatever. It's just very revealing.
Yep.
Like RFK, I would love to get his opinion on it outright. He's recently said some very strong things about Bitcoin. He talks about.
So has Larry Fink.
Okay,
that's true.
Yeah, he's talked about the importance of it for all the reasons that the Maxis talk about, and he's talked about the U.S. government if he became president, how he would take a percentage of the U.S. Treasury, right, and start to slowly move it into Bitcoin and gold and things. And he mentioned Bitcoin
and remove capital gains
being
for
part of that, right? Kind of making analogous to metals, right?
You know what? Just take out the IRS and we'll call it good. Just leave money alone from that.
and he's talked about the importance of cash, and he's also against CBDCs for all the reasons that we talk about that, right? How it could be used to essentially censor and surveil people. So where does he stand on true privacy coins?
That would be interesting. Monero is like a really good litmus test.
Yeah,
it is.
Whether even phrasing it as Monero, like where do you stand on untraceable digital cash? It seems to perfectly align with everything you say, your importance of free speech and protecting democracy by way of not allowing governments to censor information. Money is information, right? I mean, all these things. So where do you stand with that? Or is that where you draw the line? You say, no, it can be used.
That's a little too much.
It can be used for money laundering. It can be used for avoiding taxes. So yeah, no, I love free and open markets and the free flow of information to protect.
We can't put that much power.
We're not in this.
People.
So it's a great revealer, I feel like.
Yeah, it's always the but. Yeah, I support the Second Amendment, but yeah, I support the First Amendment, but, and it's like, oh, here we go. So everything you said before the but doesn't mean anything. Okay, gotcha.
So anybody then, in the Libertarian Party that you have your eye on that is like with political aspirations that would be a Monero, a privacy coin supporter?
Yeah, there's actually one. I mean, he's running for the state of Utah right now. His name's Brad Green. I actually just interviewed him on my show yesterday. He's running for U.S. Congress District 2 here, which is like a third of the state. Like the district is huge. But yeah, he knows about Monero, supports Monero. He actually sells gold backs at his business. He's a
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so he's all about it.
He's got a real chance, or
yeah, he's a former Republican who came over to the Libertarian Party because he saw how corrupt it was, and he was like, well, at least these guys stand on principle. And so he came over to our party, and the thing is that he has the knowledge, but he also has name recognition, which is something that the Legacy Party didn't expect. They didn't expect a once loyal party member to go to the Libertarian Party and run for office. So
awesome.
That'd be a big W for Monero.
You just interviewed him on Rise to Liberty?
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
Very cool, man. Very cool.
Check it was a great interview. Really got just right into the nitty gritty. Only had about an hour to sit and chat with him. So, tried to hit all the important points that are going to matter at that level of a campaign. So
awesome. What's his name?
Brad Green.
Brad Green.
Yep.
Maybe we'll try to get him on a Monero Talk or Monerotopia. I'm sure he'd want
to,
right? For publicity too.
Yep. Brad Green for Utah, for the number, for utah.com.
Sweet. Yep. Any things we should have our eye on in terms of like upcoming events, liberty related events, or things that you're aware of? I know you're good at that. You have your finger on the pulse.
Everything's been kind of still right now. Everything's been kind of stagnant. That was the word I was looking for. And I mean, with myself, I've been focusing on learning different skills and other things like that, kind of taking myself away from the computer a little bit more, spending time with the wife and the family. So
Nice.
it's trying to get back to owning a family farm. I worked on a farm for many years and I want to get back.
Heck yeah, I
Yeah.
respect that. Make your own food.
Yep. And
Very
mine Monero in the garage while I'm, out gardening.
Keep the cows warm.
Yeah, exactly.
And sell eggs for Monero, please. We're trying to get somebody to do that.
Oh, if there's a way that I'll be able to exchange any sort of a clean raised or grown good for any sort of alternative currency, I'm all for it.
Sweet. Yeah, we've kind of subtly mentioned here once or twice, but Tux and I are working on a Monero-based marketplace. Obviously, there's ones that already exist, but we have our own little twist on it.
Nice.
The main thing being that it's going to have a multi-sig escrow solution. So
okay,
that should be cool in theory, right? Tux?
Yeah.
In theory. We haven't seen the final product here, but the person who's working on it claims to be able to build that. Which would be very cool. So a trustless escrow Monero-based marketplace.
Yeah, no, that's big.
Yeah, for the clear market. This is it's not a dark market, but we need a way for people to buy peer-to-peer to buy eggs and milk and whatever from each other, right?
Well, and I was talking to Jeremy Corden not that long ago, and he was telling me, I can't remember if it was him or somebody he knew, but somebody had purchased a newer vehicle with just straight gold backs.
Nice.
And said,
wow,
yeah.
That's
I was
crazy.
like, okay, so there are people out there that will accept that. So
yeah, at one point there was an entire school bus on Monero Market, and I don't think it's there anymore.
That's great. Oh, that makes me so happy. I got to say, the Monero community is the best community out of any other coin or project I've had fun in other communities, but it's nothing like this community.
Yeah, I think everybody's very much aligned with just the digital cash purposes, right? Like they're in it for the utility of digital cash.
Yeah,
I tried selling my Jeep in 2018 for Monero. Posted on Reddit, and I had a guy who was ready to buy it. Actually, but for whatever reason, it fell apart. I think the guy was like very eager because he wanted to have that kind of like Bitcoin pizza type moment, right? Where
yeah.
What do you think it would have happened?
It was so close. Like for him practically, he was leaving New York. Otherwise, he would have done it. And then I ended up meeting him in person years later at a Monero event, which is very cool. But yeah, cool. I think Monero people are in it for that, right? They want to create this economy. They want to create this parallel economy and use Monero as the tool for it. It's not just like let's try to acquire and not use our Monero.
Yeah,
they want to use it.
Well, it seems as though like we're getting attacked from so many different angles, so many different ways that it's obvious that it's a multi-pronged attack. So it's going to have to be a multi-pronged solution. And Monero, in my opinion, is the biggest advancement towards just like throwing up the bird to the system and just being like, we're going to do what we are going to do. Because when you're left to make our choices, you always make the bad choices. So, and peace is always the best option. I'm not one of these libertarians who are like, I'll just not ever raise my voice and I'll just probably get punched in the face or something. But to not try to have peace always be the first option is a massive failure. So the fact that we can remove ourselves from the system and do it in a peaceful manner, it's just the dream come true.
Yeah, it seems like it's the best strategy.
Yep.
Towards fighting against tyranny, right? Just removing yourself from it.
Mm-hmm. Exit and build.
Right, exactly. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for jumping on and the short notice. If you can stick around, I think maybe we should jump over to the news and do the news segment, and then we'll do viewers on stage. And if you could stick around, I'm sure we'll talk about some of the things that came up in the news.
Word.
All right,
Totally.
Cool.
Let's hit it.
And now for our weekly news segment.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Monerotopia news section. This time we're going to discuss, like always, CBDCs. Then we have some stuff in the US that's happening. And then we're going to take a break and talk about Monero because it gets quite depressing when we talk about CBDCs and how bad the world is heading with its direction. So the first thing that we're going to discuss is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which runs for presidency in the United States. He vows to back dollar with Bitcoin, exempt Bitcoin from taxes. This is very interesting. So if we go in this article, U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. unveiled a plan to exempt Bitcoin from capital gains tax, when it is converted into U.S. dollars, and to begin to back the greenback with real finite assets, such as gold, silver, platinum, and Bitcoin. In the beginning, he said that the process will be very, very small, perhaps 1% of issued T bills. But backing dollars and U.S. debt obligations with hard assets could help restore. Yes, it's absolutely is going to help restore strength back to the dollar because, rein in inflation and usher in a new era of American financial stability, peace, and prosperity. Of course, it's going to, because right now we have monopoly money. Essentially, they can just print infinite amounts of it and then inflate the currency to the point of it being worth nothing, as we're seeing, and it happened in a lot of countries. So the U.S. is not going to be an exemption from this. So very interesting. Our Robert F. Kennedy's thoughts when it comes to backing the dollar with Bitcoin and all these things. So, but it seems too good to be true, So I'm not sure if he's actually going to become president. Things are too rigged. But of course, it'll be cool if instead of Bitcoin, he use Monero. Monero is great when it comes to privacy, but it has so many other things that it is good for, such as the dynamic block size. So essentially, the more you use Monero, the less you pay in fees, and miners are being rewarded thanks to tail emissions. So things like that. It doesn't have a set cap of 21 million coins, which I am not a fan of. But it's interesting. It's very interesting, and hopefully that is going to become president. We'll see. So we have Robert F. Kennedy fighting for us, but on the opposite side we have the Fed. So Fed dramatically speeds up U.S. payments with Fednow, but downplays any tie to CBDCs. So what is Fednow? Fednow is a system that honestly is pretty cool. I mean, we need that. Whenever I want to send money to my friends and family, internationally, it takes days, and sometimes they need the money in that moment. They can't wait a week or a couple of days to receive the money, plus the fees, which are high. But I'm not sure how the fees are with Fednow. But essentially, with this new system, Fednow, it conveys money almost instantly versus the hours or days it has conventionally taken in the US, finally bringing the world's largest economy in line with other countries. The central bank has denied that Fednow is tied to any digital US dollar initiative. This is what they keep saying. And it's very important to stress this, because we'll see in the future when there's going to be a Monerotopia news section in which we're going to be like, guys, the digital dollar has arrived. And it's going to be very amusing because they're saying that, we're not going to have a CBDC probably. We'll see. We're still looking into it. Janet Yellen is arguing that the U.S. should consider a central bank digital currency. The Fednow service, they say, is neither a form of currency nor a step towards eliminating any form of payment, including cash. So, but of course, the CBDCs are coming. And then I'll show you a couple examples from across the world and where the world is headed. And of course, that the US is going to follow through with CBDC. But first, let's discuss about this tweet from Jerry Brito. I'm sorry to have to say that Coin Center's case challenging Congress' expansion of Section 6050I of the tax code was dismissed as unright by the district court. So this law takes effect on January 1st, 2024, and will require citizens who are recipients of crypto payments, right? So if you receive crypto payments of $10,000 or more, to report to the government, not just the transaction, right, how much, but the PII of the sender as well, all without a warrant. So if somebody sends you more than $10,000 in crypto, you need to report that person. Who sent you? Who's that person to send you that much money? But of course, in Monero, they can't even see who sent you the money, the fact that the transaction even happened. So I really hope that if you're new to Monero, that you really hope to that you really get to understand how important Monero is, because they keep creeping into our assets, our money, our personal things. We're being brainwashed by social media all the time. They're pushing all this senseless information, and they're manipulating what we think. So it's just all a bunch of manipulation. Hopefully you get to see more and more how important Monero is. Disclosetv sees that Monero is important, and they put on their website that you can donate for Bitcoin and other coins, but then separate down below for Monero, use address or QR below. So there's Bitcoin and other coins, and then there's Monero. Disclosetv asks donations in Monero on their Telegram channel with over 400,000 followers. This is huge. This is written by my good friend Mano Crypto. Mano, if you're watching, all the best, man. But yeah, so we discussed Robert F. Kennedy, Fednow, 6050I of the tax code. So now let's discuss CBDCs, right? Because the US keeps negating the fact that CBDCs are coming to the US as well. Let's look at China. So in the past episode, we discussed the fact that you can pay for railway systems, metro systems with CBDCs. They even created, which doesn't work for iPhone 14 and up. It just works for Android, as far as I understand. But it's a SIM that you put in your phone, and even if your phone is dead, if you have no network connection, which is very, very important, you can actually still pay for the things that you want to purchase. Which, you see, like when it comes to CBDC development, it's good to see what they are doing and take the good stuff and just put it into Monero. Like I would love to have like a very thin card, something like we have today, like a credit card. And then you can pay, without power, without network connection, and you can modulate the amounts and how much you have in that card on an app on your phone. Because sometimes you're going to run out of battery on your phone, or you're not going to have good network connection. Like I've been in the mountains of Albania with no internet connections or any way of anybody saving my life. It was just me and my friend in some mountains. So, and then we actually had to make a purchase in those mountains with cash. Had we not had cash, we've been stuck there. So in crazy situations like that, or not even, you need to be able to just pay with like your credit card. You never really have to charge it. It just works in case your phone is dead. But the Civil Aviation Administration and China Merchants Bank said passengers can utilize the central bank digital currency to access new services via this platform. So with China's CBDC, you can pay for railway networks, light rail connections, and metro systems, but now also business. You can pay for flight tickets using the CBDC. So they're obviously very, very ahead when it comes to this. Then China's digital yuan nears 250 billion transaction volume. Then if we go below, on July 19th, so this was 3 days ago, People's Bank of China Governor Yi Geng told the conference in Singapore that its central bank digital currency transacted 1.8 trillion yuan as the end of June. He added there have been around 950 million transactions from roughly 120 million wallets since the digital yuan's initial January 2022 rollout, an average transaction amounting to $260. So is it just China in the world? No, Russia as well. The Russian CBDC by 2025. What's happening with the digital ruble? So now they're throwing some numbers, 2025 to 2027. Maybe like 2024, we're going to see the digital ruble from Russia, which is going to be very interesting because I think we discussed in one article that they want to back the digital ruble by gold, which we'll see if that's going to happen. And I just wonder how the digital ruble is going to be. I don't think citizens are going to have any privacy at all. It's probably just going to be like the rest of them. So it's going to be interesting how CBDCs will differ around the world. Okay, so we discussed CBDCs, Robert F. Kennedy, all kinds of stuff where the world is headed. Now let's take a break and let's discuss the two last things for this week, which is Monero stuff, Monero-related articles. This is a proposal to make August 8th a Monero holiday, Mask Day, Panty Day. So Untraceable posted that on August 8th will be 3 years since official McAfee auctioned his coronavirus mask for 27 Monero. $2,600 then, $4,400 today. Should this be the Monero Mask Day or Penny Day similar to Bitcoin's Pizza Day? Yeah, why not? That'll be fun. That'll be cool. And then we have Merceneros Monero Services. So what is this? They're saying that we're excited to announce that starting today, our newly established cooperative Merceneros is open for business. We are devoted to providing top-tier services for the Monero community. We're a dedicated team of Monero enthusiasts and professionals offering our services to everyone who opts for Monero as their preferred currency. And if we go on their website, Merceneros, the Monero cooperative you can trust. And you can get system administration services, programming, training, coaching, and sysadmin, Linux, OPSEC, InfoSec, hosting. And this is the team, Redvice, Screwed Burn, and Amenpa. Cool. So, guys, this was this week's news section. If you want to check the articles, the links are going to be in the description. Again, if you want to let me know something going on in the world and you want me to cover it, you can message me. You can tag Monerotopia, and I'm going to see it, and maybe it's going to make it into the news section. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week. Have a good week, everybody. Bye. Bye-bye.
All right.
Great as always. I totally forgot to mention that Fednow literally came out this week, so thanks to Tony for talking about that. And what's funny is that if you go to their website, explore.fednow.org, and you click on to the bottom right, the see who's live on the network button, you can see all the banks that are going to and currently accepting Fednow, so you can boycott them, or better yet, attempt to try and start debanking yourself altogether, right?
Which is basically all the major banks. So
yeah, most of them, but there's some, like, there'll probably be local ones that aren't going to like be participating in that, but the big ones like Chase and Wells Fargo, of course, they're going to be part of that.
Well, they'll just crash the regional ones like they have been doing. So
yeah. Yeah, honestly.
I mean, obviously the big question is Fednow just this backbone that's going to be used between banks, or are they going to be releasing a Fednow app for citizens, and now it becomes the CBDC?
I think this is a precursor to the CBDC, and right now it's going to be integrated with the banks itself.
They told me that it was not a CBDC, so
who's that?
Well, just the fact that they said it, the whole thing stinks.
They don't lie. They never lie.
But it's the website is so funny. It's like they made this map, like this journey map. You can see who's accepting it, blah, blah, all this stuff. It looks like a shitcoin site. It's hilarious. It's so funny. Like, it's revolutionary.
I think the way it's going to play out is when they want to give out the next stimulus, and it's like you'll be able to receive it faster if you sign up to you create a personal Fednow account, and every citizen will get their whatever 500 per person, 2,000 per family, whatever it may be. But you'll get it instantly with Fednow. They'll even have an app you can download on your iOS or Android. And you get those Fednow bucks in a matter of seconds, and then bam, overnight, you've just onboarded, whatever.
So from what I understand, that's pretty much what happened in India. They just one night, their president, I guess he's a president, came out onto national television and said, as of 9 p.m. tonight, the 2 largest donations in our currency are now no longer legal tender. And so he just made like 2/3 of their wealth just disappear overnight and said, good luck. The option was to sign up for their digital currency. Take it or starve.
Z is saying, why are we against CBDCs? Bullish on being able to keep track of government spending.
Yeah, they're not going to use it. It's only for host peasants.
It's going to be about keeping track of you. And
Yeah,
granted,
exactly.
we don't have to use it, but it hurts us when the rest of society is using it, right? So we're all, we're the rare exception, people opting out, trying to build Monero economies here. But Joe Schmo, it doesn't have the, there's just a lot of people that don't have the time, man. They're not like us. They're not on the forefront here. They're living their lives. They're, working every day, trying to feed their families. They're not thinking twice about this stuff, and they're just being fooled into it. And ultimately, you could say, well, that's too bad for them, survival of the fittest, and we'll go build our own paradise over here. It hurts all of us when we have this tremendous section of society that's going to be tracked and surveilled, because it just greatly empowers the government, just gives them insane amount of power. And even if we all opt out, we're still now have to deal with this beast.
I mean, just think about it. The people running the DMV are now going to be in charge of all money.
Let's open it up to viewers on stage. So we'll get some other people up here to chat with us. Zeet, I see you made that comment. Why don't you come up and join us if you can?
Yeah, everyone. I'll post.
I want to get this guy Sue up here, who was talking about how he just bought Monero for the first time, and then he said, "I've seen how my employer is moving towards a Monero data analytics for governments and companies are on crypto transactions, and it's a very fast-growing part of the business. Plus, they own CipherTrace, so it sounds like I don't know, his employer is Visa or something. Come up here. You can maintain your anonymity if you like, but we'd love to hear your Monero story. But yeah, let's do it, Tux.
All right, let's run that.
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
Tux, if you can, drop the StreamYard link in the chat. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so anybody that wants to join, it's just as simple as clicking that link, and you'll be up here in the green room, and then we could add you to the chat. Who else? Let's bring Alaska Anon up.
Oh, there's two of him. Let's try this one.
Okay.
Hey.
Hello, gentlemen.
What's going on, man?
Well,
you're looking good. You're looking fresh. You're looking healthy. Get that clean Alaska air.
Well, it could also be the fast that I just did.
Oh, nice.
How long did you go for?
Usually I do 7, but I only did 5 because my family came back from a visit to their family in Washington, so we had pizza.
So you just finished up your fast?
Yeah, I lost like 22 pounds.
Oh wow! And you just water? You're just like drinking water, or
yeah, the last day no water either. But
wow,
what's really wild about that though is it's actually really easy to lose 22 pounds when you're as tall as me and as fat as me.
You must feel good though, right? It must be yeah, worked. Feeling fresh?
Oh, I mean, for sure. The other thing is my work life was so busy, it was impossible to find time to eat anyway. So
okay, so it all worked out. Awesome, man. Yeah. What do you think of some of these news stories we've been talking about?
Yeah, I had a bunch of questions. If somebody comes up, I'd love to just shut up and listen to somebody else. But I had so many questions for RiseToLiberty. My first question is I mean, for one, I'm sorry I've never heard of you before. I'd probably already be listening to your work, but thank you, Doug, for making me aware that he even exists. But my first question is how much have you covered open source software? Like, are you using RSS feeds? Are people able to anonymously stream or download your podcasts and so
on? So yes and no. I am through. See, this is why I don't really talk about it that much outside of what I do know, because as smart of a person as I am, tech is not my forte. So I am set up on, let's see, what is it called? It's like the Hive network. It's a Web3 option. I was approached by an agorist out of nowhere, and I was like, okay. And I think I reached out to you, Doug, to see if you had heard anything or whatever, but checked out to where I felt comfortable putting my name on it. So there are options for people to be able to get a hold of anything that I put out. Also, I have never been opposed or will never be opposed to somebody just asking. So if there's anything somebody wants to see, I'll get it to you.
Oh, actually, you do have an RSS feed on your website.
Mhm.
It's on there. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to get a hold of me, I'd be more than happy to help you make anything available privately for people who are security conscious.
I would love that.
And the other thing is, I pretty much limit myself to sharing stuff that's available if it's anonymous. So, but that said, I had another question.
No, you're good.
So, having spent like a decent amount of time, I won't forget my question. I'd love to hear from Ian before I keep talking.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Say your question. I have nothing too important to say. Just I wanted to show in.
All right. So, as far as like the voluntarist versus libertarian sliding scale, like the agorist, anarchist, libertarian, would you say that the Libertarian Party is pretty cooperative with people who are not just like limited government, but anti-government in the circles that you've been able to be in? Or would you say that they have some level of disdain for people who opt out of any kind of government at all?
Well, I would hope that they would be okay with it because I'm an anarcho-capitalist. So. Yeah. It all really just depends on the affiliate. The biggest thing that's hard for people to understand is that it's a truly decentralized network. So we might share the same name, but we are nowhere near the same organization. The state of Utah has nothing to do with the Montana LP or California LP. Like, we're completely different. Structurally, a lot of states run the same. Colorado's structured a bit different, but other than that, it's really just the culture of whoever is in charge. So some states are really milquetoast and weak sauce, but then you got states like New Hampshire, which always upsetting the right people. So
I do have one more question, actually.
Yeah.
So on your list of to-dos, right, as far as like killing the corporatocracy, government, bank, chimera, demonic infestation, or whatever, there's a certain list that we all know, right? Especially if you're familiar with the show, we talk a lot about parallel economies because, you know, Monero. But and then there's obviously opting out wherever you can. Is there one of those like minutia, just from your own personal experience? You know, you talked about growing food and getting on the land more, that is completely off the radar of, you know, the Monero community or you know, opt out type people? Like, after the level of experience you have in this situation, what's the blind spot of what can be done right now by people actually doing this right now?
I thought you were going to ask me a hard question. Health, period. Exercise, diet, getting enough sunlight, anything you can do to improve your health, because they want us to be sick. They want us dependent upon them. They don't want us strong. They don't want us functioning correctly. And we're being, you know, we're facing toxins from every possible angle. So anything you can do to get healthy.
You heard it here first, Monero bros. Get jacked.
Yep.
Do your 7-day fast. and then end it with some Alaskan salmon.
Go lift some kettlebells.
I heard there might be Alaskan salmon available for Monero. I mean, I don't know. But I don't participate in that.
If that is true, I will buy some. I will buy some Alaskan fresh farm fresh Alaskan salmon. Please point me in that direction.
I also don't partake in that, but if I were, that does sound interesting.
I mean, all it takes, I heard, is like a session ID, and somehow it just like shows up.
Oh, okay.
I love things that just show up. It
just happens.
Big fan.
You mentioned goldbacks a couple times. There is someone that got me into goldbacks recently. But how often do you get to use them? And do you get to use them like a lot in person or like online? Or how's that work?
So it's always going to be like an in-person transaction. At least I've never had any transaction that wasn't. Here in the state of Utah, we have actually got quite a few businesses. I couldn't tell you exactly how many off the top of my head, but the Goldbacks website actually does have a vendor list, which you will be seeing RiseToLiberty on there very shortly.
Awesome.
Yeah, to be officially, I mean, anyone can accept Goldbacks. That's the cool part, but I'll put that down on paper that I accept them. So yeah, there's tons of people in all kinds of industries. Like I was going through the list and saw like a waterbed salesman, I think. Tourism is a big thing here. So there's like whitewater rafting companies, ice cream shops, mechanics, anything and everything. So
you get to use it to like buy food locally?
You could, yeah. Oh yeah. There's plenty of farmers around here that would accept it.
That's awesome.
I have another question. I swear this is not because I wanted to shill anything, but are you all up to speed on like graphene phones or Calyx phones or?
So any of the like de-Googled stuff?
Yeah.
Probably not up to the most recent updates. Like I said,
what do you use right now? Feels like an iPhone or?
Oh yeah, total spyware.
Alaskan Nod's cringing. If you're interested in using Graphene OS, that's something that multiple people in this space would be willing to help you with.
There is also, I never reveal everything.
Mm-hmm.
A little birdie told me there's one on its way to Utah, possibly.
Oh, okay.
Damn.
I like little birdies.
A land-based birdie. It's a flightless birdie.
Even better.
Like a road runner.
All dressed up,
yeah.
Nowhere to go.
Oh, what a shame. What a shame. But I'm always open for questions. So, yeah, I'm going to reiterate again, though. Health. Something small, something big, doesn't matter. Just something.
I have another question. I have 1,000 more questions, actually. But if there was anyone that we could help you get in contact with that you think would help spread the message, or any group of people that need to be made aware for spreading the message, I mean, even if you just want to rapid fire like a list that you have in your head or whatever, I'd be really interested to hear it.
I mean, there's tons of people I could think of that have like obviously a lot more reach than I do. Anyone who's just paying even halfway attention, reading beyond just the headline in an article, I think is somebody that should be talking about it, should be made aware of it. Not just made aware of like what it is, because a lot of what I have had to do is just drive home just over and over the privacy factor, how battle tested the Monero community, I would say, is at this point. That as of right now, there might be something else in the future, but right now, this is the option. It actually works. Also, being able to just give people some, help them set up their wallet has been a lot of fun. I can't think of anyone specifically. Just because I don't know. There's just so many people. You think of anybody. Anybody who will talk about it and anybody who will listen. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but
I have one more question. This one should be pretty easy. So once a small group of liberty-minded individuals congregate, where would you recommend they start as far as decoupling themselves from the Orwellian, the thing, the blob?
Run, don't walk. Well, a lot of that's going to be like really personal to exactly where you are in your life. I will reiterate again, health is a number one for all of us. Outside of that, I have a friend, I'll let him stay anonymous, but he's never had a smartphone. And so I'm not going to tell him to worry about his digital footprint. I think you need to at least have basic knowledge of exactly what's going on. And then you've got to be honest with yourself and evaluate yourself. Maybe have somebody else look things over and be like, this is the weakest point. That's where you start. So yeah, I can't say one place for any one person.
I think a good place to start is to put some really awesome constitutional background. Bro, the Constitution you have in the background is amazing. Like, that's so cool.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. That is so cool.
Yeah, actual parchment paper.
Nice.
Paid a fortune for them.
One thing I learned recently is that the guys that did that were like 20 to 30 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And
yeah, what are the rest of us doing with our lives?
They were somewhat normal people. They were just businessmen. They were entrepreneurs. A lot of
farmers,
yeah,
inventors.
Yeah,
they weren't superheroes.
No,
they were just really pissed off and willing to do something about it.
I think that's maybe even something important to acknowledge, that some of these guys had deep flaws. Like they were not superheroes.
Yeah.
But and we should be like, yeah, some of those guys believed in slavery. Which is kind of problematic. And I think a lot of the problems that we have today are a result of kind of the residual belief in slavery that some of the founding quote unquote fathers had.
I'm not going to argue against that, but I'm also not going to judge them by today's standards. They're also not here to defend. They're not here to defend themselves. So be honest about what it is. Some of them wanted to get rid of it, but there was no way that, like, you can't just go poof, gone, like, what are you going to do with a bunch of people who are now free people into the economy? I mean, that's really why Lincoln did what he did, but that's a whole different discussion.
Actually, I wanted to ask you about that just now. Like, what do you think about the kind of the legal theory about the 14th Amendment and about the conversion, into the corporate realm? Do you like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, since I have the chance, I will say Lincoln was probably the closest thing to a dictator that this country's ever seen. I don't know, Biden's pretty close, but he's not really driving the car anyways. I think if the Constitution and the Bill of Rights was actually taken as it was written, literally, it already covers everyone and everything. The first 10 amendments already do that. it should be able to be added to or changed if requirements are met. But I don't believe, if taken literally, as intended, not what they believed, what they wrote down, all men are created equal, then I'm not sure what else you have to add.
Obviously, we have to add women as well, and everything in between.
I'll just not comment.
Don't want to get banned.
How about voting? How do you feel about democracy and voting?
Democracy, the god that failed.
Yeah.
Democracy is basically just gang rape. So
I love this.
Bro, that's really good. That'll get you engagement on Twitter for sure, and also maybe banned. I don't know.
I'm already shadow
that
banned.
that WEF employee now working for them.
Yeah.
Elon Musk was the real Trojan horse for Twitter, because like I knew people were like basically bowing down to him. It's gonna save Twitter, even though it's already a centralized platform, right? It's like, what else can you do? And then of course now we're seeing a turn like where there are a lot of people getting unbanned, and then a little more free speech, but it's starting to be reeled back. It's like you have a little more free speech, just a little bit, but no, I can't. It's so much for the free speech absolutism.
I don't know how many people are even gonna know what I'm talking about, but for those who do, this is actually super interesting. On 4chan, like I think it was 2.5, 3 years ago. I missed the actual thread, but I saw it right afterwards. Somebody had said when they wind down the Wu-Flu thing, they were going to start to walk back like that anti-white, anti-men, anti-freedom, anti-everything. And they were going to start to embolden like young males for the purposes of getting them to be willing to join the military again, because they had like major problems with recruiting and stuff, and it was going to eat into their like weapons profits and all of that.
Oh
And
no!
the guy who showed like all you would need to prove that he had, I'll just leave it at like a high-ranking badge in the military-industrial establishment, time-stamped everything. But then he went on to basically say like how they would do it, and he even started pointing out people like RFK. RFK. I don't know. I haven't followed politics in so long. I don't even remember who the suits are today. But it was just really interesting because all of that stuff has now come to pass, where they're like, "Oh, Twitter is super free. Elon is based. Trump is coming back, and he's gonna be like good this time, guys." And it's just like the guy who got you Operation Warp Speed is now gonna be like a Republican.
Banned bump stocks.
Yeah,
Lock
and bump
him
stocks.
Vote
and
harder.
So much money, it was absolutely mind-boggling, and like it's and then on the other side, the Democrats are trying to get their base back by like saying, no, yay unions, and like we like real money, guys. It's just it was all predicted
We're
2.5
not
years ago
anti-war.
by someone who would actually be listening in as those like weapons boards are like telling their suits what to do next and stuff.
They can't even solve the mystery of the missing cocaine baggie. Like,
We all know whose it was.
Unbelievable.
maybe he won a party sometime.
There's cameras everywhere, and they can't figure that one out.
Did
you guys-
anybody ever
you guys
see
remember-
like it was in the 80s or whatever? A whole bunch of White House staff came out, and I'm talking like early 80s. They were talking about for almost 10 years there was this like army of like young male prostitutes and cocaine constantly coming in and out of the White House for like multiple presidents, multiple terms. Like you guys should look into it. It's one of the oldest. It's already a 45-year-old thing that they've been doing this.
I heard the rumor that George Bush Jr. liked his cocaine, but I mean it's just a rumor. Do you guys remember the It was a recent story. Like within the last couple of years, there was a Ukrainian politician that declared his Monero when he got like he was like a kid.
Yeah.
And then and then the Bidens came along with Ukraine, and I don't know. Maybe the White House loves Monero in their dark web Monero.
Dude, I put a lot of
cocaine
feds use
baggies.
it because I know it's the only thing that can, really be decent at giving them privacy. There's nothing else you can.
Maybe
That's
maybe
why
we'll
they're
get some
always on
Fed
tour.
boy adoption.
That's why you can never believe all of this FUD about like, oh, they'll just ban it and they'll just. I mean, that's complete nonsense
'Cause they
because
use it.
they want a way
If they
out
could,
of
they
their own
would.
nightmare too. Like, yeah, they number one, they can't. And number two, they need the parallel economy to exist for their escape plan and for their international like.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how are they going to fund their black market? So, yeah, I mean, I was just reading about Iran-Contra again today, just to go and refresh my mind, and that's all it was.
Wait, how many times do you read about Iran-Contra in a given year?
Well, this time it's been twice, 2 different books from 2 different angles. So, there's one after they brought the cocaine into the country, and then one about how they used guerrilla warfare tactics to manipulate the people to get the war started in the first place. So they literally planned all of it. So it wasn't just like, oh, we stumbled on this.
I just watched Narcos Mexico. I feel like I'm educated now.
It's pretty much that. It's just that with nicer suits. Bodyguards.
Bodyguard. I like that phrase.
This Soye guy up here, but I guess he's not coming up.
Yeah, I guess he never joined.
Yeah.
Was that the guy who bought Monero for his first time?
Yeah, he bought Monero, but it sounds like he works for Visa, right? Because he said his
interesting.
He works for our own CipherTrace. Right? Isn't it Visa?
Sounds like one of those guys you were talking about, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, send me some anonymous messages.
It's nice to see people going rogue.
Put it in transaction extra.
Guys, anything else you guys want to bring up? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up.
Hi guys.
Oh, go ahead, Ian.
Go ahead, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that personally, I disagree with the crowd. I think that the likelihood that Monero gets banned is very high. And last show, I asked you, Doug, if you believed in mass adoption of Monero. And I want to say that personally, I don't believe in mass adoption, quote unquote. I think that Monero will stay for a very long time, a tool used only by the ones that want to escape the quote unquote matrix. And I fear that in not very long, they will simply remove all cryptocurrency apps from Android App Store, from the normie Google Play Store, and also from the iPhone. And this is why I want to emphasize on the importance that we shield Monero, but we also shield Linux and Graphene OS and these kind of technologies while we build new ones. And what I hope for the future is a kind of decentralized internet, like truly decentralized node to node, where ISPs cannot come in between us to cut the wire simply. Because exactly, something like a mesh network, and it's maybe not possible yet right now. I hope that with technology evolving, with the capability to store infinitely more data in one place, mesh networks maybe can become technologically feasible. What I wanted to say is, back when I first got into Monero, I was in Windows back then. I remember that I could not simply download the Monero GUI because Windows would flag it as a virus, And I think this is the kind of strategy they will implement to try to stop the adoption if it starts to get some speed, So I wanted to share my opinion.
May I chime in a little bit on that, you guys, real quick?
Please.
So I actually agree with almost everything Ian said there. He's definitely on point.
Same.
But the reason why I actually like slightly disagree with the direction. So number one, you have all kinds of like large government bodies even demanding that side loading apps be possible, at least for the short term future. Number two, a lot of entire countries have also already gotten used to finding ways to sideload apps, like in China and in Thailand. And there's a lot of places where people are already becoming accustomed to getting this done. Another thing, the mesh network thing is actually really far along. If nobody's familiar with the Briar project, it's very interesting. The other thing is I actually worked with a bunch of people setting up Bawdy antenna, like I guess you could call it ultra Wi-Fi hotspots. I mean, the bandwidth isn't like super great, but it's more than enough for like combos, 360p videos, stuff like that. And you can basically make like a massive Wi-Fi network with the kind of bandwidth that you would expect out of like 3G. And those things actually already exist now, and they're already in place. And I mean, I don't know where that might be, but probably some like Arctic place somewhere. But the thing is, everything that you're saying is true, and I would even go so far as to say, yeah, it's probably going to be like 3-4% of the people who even understand that the technology is like even out there, it exists, and a tiny percentage who can use it. But that said, it only takes a tiny percentage of people who know how, and then like a 2 or 3% who can deploy the technology for commo systems to be up and running and exist. Which is one of the reasons why I'm such a strong advocate for like open source hardware, which is already more than enough, like as far as its power and capacity to run all of the systems that we just described, and why I always talk about graphene and why I put so much money into making graphene phones available for people. So.
Hey, Alaska, it seems like you really you're definitely more educated on networking, stuff like that. One thing that I've heard that's a problem with like decentralized networks or mesh networks, etc. There's apparently there's some kind of trust layer with the internet where like nation states basically have to agree not to fuck with each other. Do you think mesh networks are fully viable at this moment? I honestly, I don't know. I'm asking the question. Like, I would love to hear the answer. Yes, we can do mesh networks. But I've heard there's when you scale at some certain level, it's very difficult to fight against like DDoS attacks and things like that.
Well,
I want to.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know if the question was for me. Just I want to say that my knowledge about networks is extremely shallow. I know the basics, nothing more than you, I think.
So, one thing that I would say real quick, but Tux probably knows more about the networking stuff than I do. I mean, I might know more about some of the really weird technologies than a lot of people, just like passion projects and all of that. But the thing is, Bawdy, like a lot of those trust questions are actually solved by like already existing open source tools, especially just depending on what systems you're talking about. Now, mesh networks are so ridiculously new that we haven't seen all of the good ideas that are currently in development, right? Because there's like app development and like modem stuff. It's all the rage with the Zoomers right now. So there's probably a bunch of geniuses working on solutions we've never heard of. But as far as like the trust layer, just like with any OPSEC question, you have to ask yourself, like, what is your threat model? If you switch to mesh networks, Yagi networks, your threat model is almost certainly like government stuff, right? And you would be congregating with communities of people that you know for economic mutual benefit. So the actual threat model is extremely well dealt with things like mesh networks, CB radios, and yeah, they have security vulnerabilities, but it would be from within the community that's using it. And the interest in maintaining that network is way too high for them to be interested in crashing. Otherwise, association pool is the real problem. It's not even the technology.
Mesh network would be pretty interesting. There's a lot of challenges with that. If you want to be fully like not tied into the traditional internet at all, then it would have to be on its own, and that would be super hard to like scale, especially like internationally, because of how long the internet that exists today has taken to scale across the whole world. But if you were to like something that'd be interesting is if there was like kind of like a hybrid network where like you had a local mesh network and like a local community, but if you needed to, you can like go outside of that. You can connect to the rest of the air quote internet, but you had your own better designed from the start mesh network for just your community that can't be censored, right? Like think about how Monero works, where it's like it's really impossible to censor transactions because you don't know what's coming from where, right? So something like that in terms of where IPs are designed differently in a way to that it's like it's more private, because the biggest issue right now is the fact that everybody who's connecting has a public IP address that defines you and usually exactly where you live. So, and that makes it super easy to censor and control. And the fact that there's large bodies, authoritative bodies that control authoritative DNS servers, that control a lot of how the internet works, and you're putting a lot of trust in these international organizations. They used to be a lot more owned by U.S. government, but now it's a lot more international. So you're trusting in them to keep it working, to not just like shut stuff down or try to censor and all that. But I think mesh networks are a cool idea.
I definitely don't want to get too far off topic, but the other thing, Bawdy, especially because of your question, but everybody who's interested in this topic needs to look into, I mean, the popular one would be dead internet theory, which is kind of a meme at this point, but that also came off of 4chan, people just noticing how many bots there were on everything. But then something called splinter net, the tier 1 connection and government firewall issue is already way more out of control than people actually realize. And one of the things that most people don't realize on that same level is it's becoming ever easier to have your own splinter net. And if you really think about the cost benefit analysis of making your own networks within networks within networks, and then your channels between the networks with like trusted admins that can open and close those secure channels, there are already better solutions than even the internet. And there's a reason why I think that Oxen, the people that are like all three of them, which are doing God's work over there, like the Oxen initiative, and also Nodos, by the way, which I'm shilling it right now. Like, people, get your Nodos. But the Nodo thing connects to so many other layers that might not be immediately obvious to people. But like networks, like this, I guess circles of networks that have secured connections between each other in almost like a Fediverse policy would actually improve uptimes, might even improve like speeds and all kinds of other things. And you can get rid of the whole IP thing altogether. So honestly, they're probably burning their own bridge of tyranny by making it so obvious to switch to better systems.
Hey, Tux, I have a kind of a nerd question for you. I remember a few years ago, ICANN was like, we're not going to release any more top-level domains. There was maybe a few hundred of them. And now it seems like I see new top-level domains all the time. There was a coin, I think it was called Handshake, and their goal was to like release top-level domains, but they didn't want to like usurp ICANN. They just wanted to like integrate with them. I don't know. Do you know anything about that? Like,
That's not
what's
like
market
the
for
that's
TLDs?
not like the unstoppable domains, was it? Because I know they had
No,
their
it's
own or something else.
no, it was. I think it was something different. They so like top level domains are like .edu, .org,
Yeah.
.com,
Yeah.
etc. And these guys said, okay, we're going to reserve the top level domains that already exist for for the people that own them. But we want the internet to have as many top level domains .whatever as possible. But lately, in the last like maybe year or two, I feel like I've seen a lot more different .whatevers popping up. I don't know. Did like ICANN change their mind? I just wondering if you know anything about this, about like ICANN or their this
I'm not
topic.
sure. I just assumed that they were issuing more TLDs, but I don't know. Maybe it is like something else. That's
ICANN for
interesting.
sale.
Ian, back to your original comment. So what is it that you think specifically the Monero, like top things Monero community should be focused on if you're fairly certain that things are going to approach more of a full-on ban? It seems like you're saying like even here, like in the US, right? We're going to wake up one morning and you won't be able to download Cake Wallet off the iOS store. You won't be able to get Monero on your Android. So, what do you think needs to happen like now, today, that the Monero community needs to focus on to ensure that we continue to move forward in spite of those actions if they were to happen?
Well, to be honest, I think they are already doing it. Like, I got into Linux because of Monero, before Monero, I was a Windows using normie, and the Monero community shielded Linux also while shielding Monero, and this made me switch. And I think going progressive, I don't think it's a good solution to say to new people, go full no KYC from the start. I think that first you get some Monero on the KYC exchange, then you try to use Tutonata instead of Gmail. Then it needs to be progressive, shielding things progressively and trying to get away from the big companies that can be secured by governments like Microsoft and Google. I think that's the only thing we can do, right? Just shield alternative technologies. I don't think there is something else we can do. And yes, just shield more Linux, maybe a bit more aggressively Linux, and do it not while shaming people. Why aren't you? Because I know you do, for example, I know you're not using Linux, and that's fine. I mean, it's not for everyone, right? But shielding the fact that it's important to consider it, making a change like every 6 months, trying to improve our setup. Yes, slowly improving without shaming people. Just try. I don't know how to say in English. Like focusing on this more. Shilling Linux.
Going to like alternatives.
Exactly.
I'll say, if any of you, like Doug, RiseToLiberty, Bawdy, you want to try to escape the matrix a little bit more, I'm your guy. I'll help you set up Linux on your computer. Or Graphene OS. And I'm sure Alaskan would love to help you.
What'd you say,
Graphene OS set up.
Doug actually does use Linux. Graphene.
Oh yeah, Graphene OS is fun fact.
We all use Linux in some way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But
Android is using the Linux kernel, so if you use Android,
I do think that's, which was Ian's point at the beginning. I think that is the easiest way, right? Because I mean, Alaska proved it with me. I'm very much a tech noob in a lot of ways, but the graphene thing is seamless. There's really you don't lose anything in terms of usability, and you gain so much in terms of privacy. So that is a great move to make, and way to push people in the right direction. I mean,
That's
does that solve the problem? Right? I like for all running our graphene phones. Does that solve a big part of the problem? Are we still able to exist?
Well, that's kind of where I wanted to go with what Ian was saying. Which, by the way, Ian, I would really like to be able to contact you after the show. That would be awesome. But the thing is
are you on Twitter?
I mean, only because of Doug, but I guess that's the way that we could start to communicate. I'm on Twitter for 3 hours and 12 minutes every week, and it's Saturday morning my time. But anyway, I'll get you some information so we can reach out to each other or something. Maybe
I mean, if you want to reach me on Twitter, I'm like the Monero Jesus, and my name is Jan Niculescu. Like it's
just
straightforward.
grab that email in private chat right now, so you have it later.
Nice.
But back to what I was saying is like adoption in a way that's normie friendly, that's noob friendly, actually solves a tremendous amount of problems that Ian was talking about. Because the thing is people already know that their phones are sketched. People already know that the government is like controlling their finances and stuff. Even like the normies of normies know that there's something wrong with the social media that they're experiencing right now. And when you have even just like a 0.5% adoption of something like graphene phones or pine phones or something like that, and people are like, what's that? And you say, well, it's not a Fed phone like that garbage thing that you're using over there. It's like,
it glows a little less bright.
Yeah, people see how easy it is. I mean, I'm telling you, an 80-year-old man who lives right down the road from me. Yes, you can, David. Go ahead and drink it. I'll open for it. Sorry, guys. My son wants his water. There you go. But an 80-year-old man who lives right down the street from me switched from an iPhone to a graphene phone seamlessly. You know, I mean, hopefully Rise will have the same experience with that amazing lucky drop in his mailbox or whatever. But like when people get access to something like that, all of a sudden taking it off of the Google, I don't even know what people use anymore, a Play Store or iOS noob store, I don't even know what they're called anymore. But like when you know about open source app stores, and you don't have to know what the word sideload means because it just works. You know, when you make something like that available, which is why we do get Graphene OS. You don't have to know what sideloading is. If a phone shows up and it's got NeoStore, it's got F-Droid, it's already got like the basics. You start using it and you start talking to, I mean, people like Tux are usually not available to the normie because he's not getting on Facebook anytime soon, you know. But this, go ahead.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything.
No, you're good.
Go, you're good.
All right. Well, I'll keep rambling because that's what I'm good at. But the thing is you normalize stuff that people already do every day, like have phones, like talk to their friends. And then when somebody says, hey, let me give you a call, and you say, why not just use this? This is encrypted end to end. It's not, you know, the feds can't spy on you. And they're like, how does it work? And they open up your NeoStore, and then they download it. And then the next thing you know, they're sessioning you. And then all of a sudden you're using session all the time and you're never using SMS. And like, and the next thing you know, you're free. They can't shut down your communications unless they do something drastic and take all of the normies down with them. You know, so that's how you solve these problems and make it normal. I mean, nobody ever thought that, you know, internet commerce was going to be a thing until I think it was Netscape came out. And everybody's like, oh man, you could totally kill all the malls. And now here we are. Like people who are under 20 are like, what's a mall?
I just wanted to warn everyone about graphene. Listen, graphene is cool, but sometimes every now and then when I get like a Telegram call or something, you know, I have to like press this button that says allow microphone. That's really inconvenient. So, just be careful out there.
I'm pretty sure that's on that's actually a newer Android feature. So that's even if you don't use graphene, it's still a thing.
Isn't that amazing? They're like, life imitates art, or Monero is the highest form of art. And now I say Monero as if like we're synonymous with graphene, but I mean, the spirit is the same, right?
Yeah, Graphene OS, Monero, they're like the same thing in like different areas, like the same class. Like they're the best of its thing.
Exactly, like 100%. In fact, if Graphene OS doesn't put Monero, like some Monero wallet, pre-installed, I'm just gonna have to write them off as a project. Obviously, they don't care.
I believe Get Graphene OS, which is the organization that I'm with, is the only one that the default shipment has Monero.com wallet on it, either Neostore, F-Droid, or both, and depending on the phone, and Session, and we're probably gonna add Molly. And then the other thing is there's an option to have it preloaded with a small amount of Monero, and then it ships with your seed phrase written down, and then like an explanation that like you should make your own wallet and then move the funds, or if not, I mean, we don't care. We're not going to take your Monero. It's like $20 or something.
That is cool. That's a cool like little way to get your first Monero as you buy the phone. I like that.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. It took hours and hours of research to figure out like how to dance around the legalese of shipping people preloaded Monero wallets, but I think we got it pretty much figured out.
Are you sure you're not a money transmitter?
Well, it depends on what you assess the value of the Monero at.
I mean, they say it's a commodity, or I think we're not a security at this point. Maybe we can be like a commodity and a security and a money transmitter all at the same time, like some kind of magical asset that's attackable from the legal framework always.
Whatever the worst thing is under.
So here's the thing, it has to do with custody laws, right? So if Monero that I own is in my custody, right, and I happen to keep it on a phone, and then you buy that phone as is, you see what I'm saying? It's just like a truck has brand new tires, but you still sell it.
I mean, like it just happens to have Monero on it by accident.
I mean, I sold it to him as is.
I don't see how that's money transmitter. I think you. I'm not seeing that there. I think you're good to go. Not legal advice, but
yeah. I mean, in the end, fuck the law, bro. It's like,
yeah. I mean, there's you're no pass through from the people that are giving you however
exactly. It's the pass through thing.
Yeah.
If you sell anything as is, just like if you sell a car and there's $100 bill on the glove box, not only is it not your $100 bill anymore, but they're under no obligation to even say anything about it.
Yeah, they're just buying a phone. This has been awesome, guys. Anything else? I mean, I think we covered a lot. Ian, thanks for jumping on again.
Yeah, thanks for on, guys.
Bringing up some good important points.
Can I ask? I'll ask Ian on like a moment about a dry fast. I mean, I've done some fasts, right? Abstain from food for a week or so, but I've never done a dry fast, and I've heard about it, and it's kind of blowing my mind. Like,
never done that.
You just give us like the quick and dirty on that.
So dry fasting is mostly an emphasis on weight loss. And what I was saying before, and anybody listening, like make sure you know what all of the available scientific information on it is. But later into your fast, if you do intermittent dry fasting as well, at a certain point in a fast, your body has trained itself to consume fat for water conversions, just like a camel does, right? And so you can space out intermittent dry fasting to accelerate the speed at which you can like basically deplete fat reserves. And there are other advantages too. It's usually focused on losing weight, but like, let's say, for example, you have a fatty liver or fatty kidneys, or perhaps you want to improve your vascular health. It can really help in a lot of ways with that stuff. But it's according to Monerotopia policies, consult your physician. It's very important that you talk to a doctor about everything. You got a broken toenail or whatever, consult your physician. But anyway, once you've done that, of course, dry fasting is also an incredible way to accelerate detoxing. The detoxing doesn't happen during the dry fast, but it happens during the water flush at the end of the dry fast. And then your pores just explode wide open, and you can dump, you could really, really, if you guys looked at the last live stream and you look at my skin in this live stream, like it's a lot healthier. So dry fasting is awesome, and I use it all the time.
So because your pores are so open, like you're like retaining so much water, all of a sudden it's like flush because your body is so used to keeping the water in. It's like, oh wait, that's too much, and so it just like flushes everything.
Today's humans are so inefficient with water, and your body is, you know how the current health guidance is like, you need 12 gallons of water a day or whatever. That actually has so much to do with how inefficient the human body has become with water because of a lack of training. And then just how much water your body holds as a consequence of like the toxification of our diets.
I'm not gonna lie, at boot camp, this is like federal crime confession time. They made us mark how much water we were drinking, and I was like, I don't need that much water, and so I marked more water than I was actually drinking at boot camp. I don't know.
They also use that to figure out how much more drugs they need to put into the water, allegedly. I mean, I'm not like classified information or anything, but supposedly
that's why I'm so free, bro.
On the internet.
That's why I didn't drink all the fluoride.
Oh my god.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for telling us about dry fasting. I've been thinking about doing it now for like maybe the last month. I read about it and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I've fasted for a few days, a week, why not dry fast? I think fighters have been kind of doing this accidentally for years now.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me away, I've gotten gout before. So dry fasting, I feel like could put me at risk there. Otherwise, I enjoy fasting and things like that, but the potential to get dehydrated. I don't know. Last game, how do you avoid?
Wait, first, can you tell us about gout? I'm sorry to interrupt. My grandpa had gout, and it was something about protein, and his back felt bad. I don't fully understand.
So, of course, this isn't medical advice, and consult your physician about everything. If you're peeing too much, if you're, if your head hurts, consult your physician. Got that, Doug? I won't get in trouble now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, gout is basically too much uric acid in blood.
Yeah. Number one, it's a sedentary lifestyle early, and then gout late seem to have a certain kind of correlation, but how you define sedentary lifestyle is key. So in other words, people will work really hard and they'll build up lactic acid, and then they won't sit or stretch, or they won't, find a way to sweat it out, or they'll just sit down, eat, and go to bed. Okay. And that's like pretty much the worst possible combination, where you work super hard and then eat right before you go to sleep, because your body's not recovering at all. It's digesting. And then you've got just mountains of uric acid and I forgot the other acid from working out, lactic acid, and a bunch of other types of acidic compounds just chilling in your bloodstream or whatever. Well, your feet sweat out more toxins than like a large amount of the rest of your body. So that's where it kind of ends up congregating. There's also a lot of people who have like that feet smell. That's kind of connected. I didn't think we were going to go here, but RiseToLiberty did say it was very important that we start working on our health. So I'll run with it a little bit.
I just want to like verify, like if I eat a bunch of meat before I go to sleep, I will definitely wake up like 2 or 3 times to go to the bathroom. Like seriously.
And probably with the meat sweats too.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I was doing intermittent fasting, working my ass off, feeling great, even exercising at the end of the day after like a full day of fasting, and then I was gorging myself with food at night. Which felt fantastic, and I was feasting, eating 1 meal a day, and then pretty much passing out after that.
Well, spacing out bedtime and eating by even just like an hour or two will greatly improve your results. But the whole gout thing, the obvious one that people always recognize is like tart cherry juice or whatever. A lot of people, they just drink like a shot glass of apple cider vinegar. It's really good at kind of like, what's the word? Thinning it out, or I don't off the top of my head, I'm missing that. But yeah, another thing to really, really consider is what I just said about how efficient your body is with water and the lack of efficiency. Well, water is this unbelievably powerful solvent. Most people don't think of it that way, but it breaks down almost everything. And it will sap the minerals that your body needs for cellular health completely out of your whole body, from inside the cell, outside the cell. If you're overhydrated for long periods of time, even your blood plasma is working against the iron in your blood. Okay, so the thing is if you do drink a lot of water, get a quality source of mineral water drop additives. That's like all of your necessary water soluble minerals. They're actually super cheap. You do not have to spend a lot of money on a really high quality mineral water drop supplement. And Doug, if you're going to start running more often, it's even more important, right? And then
magnesium, potassium, sodium.
Yeah, and you can actually look up the list of like vital minerals and how long. The human body is not very good at holding a reservoir of certain things, and minerals are like way up the list. It's really, really hard, which wasn't a problem because humans used to drink a lot of spring water and they would move around. So if one spring did not have a source of those minerals, they would end up getting it from another spring or whatever. But that's not how people drink water anymore. And if you're drinking lots,
I don't know if cavemen were like, "Yo, this source doesn't have enough minerals. Let's go to the other oasis."
Yeah, well,
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, they did it automatic.
What do you think about remineralization filters? Right, like I've heard of those. I think I looked them up a few times. Like you got to filter out all the bad stuff, like all the fluoride and the chlorine, etc. But there's like remineralization filters now. Have you ever heard of those?
I don't know. I mean, it just sounds like an expensive version of those drops. And the water drops are so cheap, man. So cheap. It's like, I just don't know, like, if anything is going to be better because it's just concentrated.
I got like a random mineral for you. What do you think about iodine? So like iodine,
if you don't have a lot of iodine, you're doomed. Like it's every part of your body's just shutting down constantly. You're gonna have bad thyroid problems with the EMF, cellular damage around you. Iodine is like an absolute must-have. You can get it from all kinds of stuff. Like if you get seaweed from the southern hemisphere and eat it a lot, that helps. There's iodine in a lot of different kinds of salts that you can use just when you're seasoning your meats. But
they add it though, right? They add iodine.
Not too much. You got to check because most of the salt that I see that's in the store is non iodized salt. So you got to like go and make sure that you get some that is.
The other thing is just have a lot of different versions of salt. I mean, like it's the new hotness to have, pink salt from the Himalayas. It's like There's a million other salts out there. And by the way, they all have their own flavors. If you want to learn to cook, first you need to get your salt game up. You got to have
I'm detoxing from pink salt right now.
I mean, there's like, you know, Irish black sea salt, or there's, you know, like the African dry lake bed salt in it. And the thing is a lot of people are working on building a mineral profile for all of these different salt sources, so you can actually balance your diet just by what salts you use.
Like I said, health.
Yeah, you're right on it. It's like it's a shame that you have to like fight to stay healthy, right? I mean, I'm constantly trying to keep up my health, and then I like got the gout. It was more a psychological trauma than anything else, because I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm very health conscious.
That can cause its own issues too, right there, you know, and just take the wind right out of your sails.
Yeah, it's like, what am I doing wrong? I mean, it's so hard to avoid the poisons. They're just everywhere.
Everywhere. They are everywhere.
Yeah. Not here.
Not here in Alaska.
But
I saw an article. The Alaskan salmon is at risk now, right? Or is that what's going on with that? Is that like a thing?
That was just all the unregistered gunfire causing global warming, bro. Don't worry about it.
I mean, they were talking about like, oh, they're putting
king salmon, the Alaskan king salmon. They're saying it's like plummeted in availability. Is that?
Oh, that is true. The population of the king salmon is pretty low, but it was never like a main dietary source anyway. It's kind of like a sport fish thing.
We didn't even want it anyways.
Well, the thing is it's not like it's going extinct or anything. I mean, there's still plenty. But the other thing about like the Alaska salmon thing, I mean, they were talking about the mosquito DNA and all of that, but there's allegedly, supposedly, possibly, I may or may not know anything about it, like private fish farm things that go on that reintroduce like the original population every year on a scale that is truly mind-blowing. And they may or may not have their own sovereignty, and they may or may not even be Americans. I don't know.
All right, guys, we covered a lot today. All these things are related, though. They really are. You know, I brought it up before, the marketplace that we're trying to build. For me, this is like something that's really on my mind, because I think it solves a lot of these problems. Like Ian was saying, like things we need to do to keep Monero. We need to, you know, less talk, more action. We need to actually get this circular economy going, guys. We need to do it. I mean, even like what we're doing here today, right? We're all just chatting, figuring out what each other's have to offer, right? We just need to start working peer to peer. I'd have more trust buying eggs on a Monero marketplace from some dude who's raising chickens than from getting them at my corner store. That goes with most products. I just want like things direct from people making them. Monero helps solves that. All these things,
chickens, not taxes.
All these things are tied in. They're all tied in together. This is fantastic. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has any final thing they want to say. Hopefully not a whole new topic, but any info you want to put out there before we close it out. Anything you want to shill or whatever. Now's the time.
Install Cake Wallet on all your family's phones. So when you tell them about Monero, and they're like, "What?" You should be like, "Oh, it's already on there. It's called Cake Wallet." And they're like, "Oh."
Send them a little Monero. RiseToLiberty, anything you want to close out with?
Just focus on your health, because if you're not up to par to fight any of this, might as well just lay down. RiseToLiberty.com/links is where you can get everything, or just RiseToLiberty.com, RiseToLiberty on all platforms.
Ian jumped off. Ian, thanks for joining us. Alaska Anon, anything you want to close out with?
Keep up the fight, like you said. But the best place to focus your grind on is your health.
Beautiful. Bawdy.
One step at a time. Do what you can. If it's digital, you're gonna get your digital life in order. You're gonna be private. Do that. If you're gonna get your health in order, do that. just one piece at a time. Rome was not built in a day.
Yeah, and don't forget to live a little. Enjoy it. Goes fast. Tux, anything you want to throw out there?
Use Graphene OS, use Linux. Escape the Matrix.
Subscribe to Monero Talk, Monerotopia.
And use Monero, of course.
All right, we'll close it out there. Thank you so much, everybody. As always, this has been fantastic. We do these shows.
Rise, I sent you an email.
11 a.m. Eastern every Saturday. Please tune in. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Doug.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.
Later, guys. Righteous.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group. See you all next